Welcome, Lund loyalists, YouTubers watching on John Lund Unleashed and the Bay Area Sports Collective, those watching on X and Instagram and listening on Apple and Spotify. It's John Lund Unleashed and 𝐿𝐿 brought to you by 𝐟𝐨𝐫𝐿 Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center, right now featuring amazing stem cell technology. For all your pain and for the guys, check out the latest in low T and testosterone therapy to make you feel like yourself again. 𝐟𝐨𝐫𝐿 Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center at 𝐟𝐨𝐵𝐿Cosmetic.com. Now, all juiced up and ready to go. Here's Johnny.
Yes. Good morning. There is your show cover for episode 118. It is Thursday already. April 17, 2025. Thank you for making the time for John Lund Unleashed. And they keep it up. Well, Willie Adames hasn't hit yet. 𝐮𝐲 Lee, awesome again last night. Matt Chapman will get it going, although he walks a ton. Underrated. Good morning. Episode 118. If you're new around here, thank you for finding the show. And however you are watching the show, we really appreciate it. Lots of different ways, lots of different platforms we can do this thing. But thank you for making the time for John Lund Unleashed. Was at 𝐾NBR for many years, radio business for about 27 years, covered beats in the NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball. I've been doing this for a long time, and we have fun every single day, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. until we're done. Monday through Friday. Saturdays, we do a 10 a.m. show. This week, we will do a Sunday post-game show for the Warriors. We will have extended coverage of the NFL draft next Thursday, a week from today. So we got a ton to get to. We'll get to the roll call in just a second. Good morning to everyone and happy Thursday. Can the Giants keep it up? They're carrying the starting pitching right now. We will explain that. So a little bit of concern, even though they're off to this great record, because the starters have got to get going at some point, because that's how the Giants ultimately win. But the offense right now is rolling. Why the Dubs can or cannot win this series against Houston. Speaking of, there's rumors already that KD would go to Houston, and I got some thoughts on that. He best be careful. That's all I'm going to say. Great to see Klay Thompson last night in Sacramento, where he exercised some demons. Remember last year, 0 for 10 to end his Warriors career unceremoniously in the offseason. Thanks, but no thanks. And he goes to the Mavericks, and last night scores 23. And it's the whole reason why I did not want the Warriors to lose to Memphis, because now Memphis is staring Dallas in the face. And I know there's no Kyrie and Luka's long traded and all those different things, but they have that dude named Anthony Davis, and Klay could get hot at any point, as we saw last night, and they can be a problem. And so that was the team that I feared. I did not fear the Kings. Had they lost to Memphis, I feared Anthony Davis, who, as I've told you many, many times, 5 playoff games of 30 or more points and 15 or more rebounds. The guy's a terror against the Warriors in the playoffs, and you just did not want your season on the line against Dallas, even though they have tons of injuries this year. Klay coming back, you didn't want to have all that emotion. The 49ers need a first-round hit, something they haven't done extremely well under John and Kyle. We'll get into that. Got a sweet, clean, family-friendly caboose pistol. Caboose pistol's on a run. I got like 4 or 5 of them lined up, and I'm just going to do one today, and I'll keep them all in order. But there you go. And then random things happen throughout the show. If you're new around here, you're listening for the first time, watching for the first time, maybe you're on a podcast, Apple, Spotify. Maybe you're on Instagram, Twitch. You're on the Bay Area Sports Collective on YouTube. You're on John Lund Unleashed on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, all those different platforms. We take randoms. I like to say that we're on a road trip. We get off. We go to McDonald's. We go to the bathroom. I got an electric car, so you got to charge it. You get right back on the freeway, and you keep things going on down the line. That's kind of what we do. So good morning to everybody. I hope everybody is well. We'll start off, if the Giants can keep this up, in 2 seconds. Give me just 1 minute to acknowledge and say good morning to all of our friends. And if you have not come into the John Lund Unleashed YouTube chat room, it's a lot of fun. Everybody's really cool. We don't have to, you can have a differing opinion. Nobody gets angry. Everybody is cool. So we'd love it if you joined up. Baba Booey is here this morning. Dom Skills, good morning to you. John, good morning. Hurley Bird, it is great to talk to you. I got your hit on LinkedIn. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Any promotion is great promotion for the show. Joy, good morning. Good morning to you, my friend Todd. Hello. Catalina. Catalina is here. Good morning, folks. I like that. I like just the nice, simple. Todd, did I say hello to Todd? Todd was on fire the other night on the post-game show. Very nice to see you. James, good morning to James this morning. Francis, it's great to see you again, my friend. Lynn Bird, hello. Who else do we have in here this morning? We got a lot of people. Papa J, like and subscribe to both channels. I always love when you say that. Thank you. John Lund Unleashed on YouTube and the Bay Area Sports Collective. Hello, Ernesto Ron. I would agree with you. Yes, it is the best show. Thank you, Ernesto Ron. I appreciate that as well. What else do we have? Jake, did I say good morning to you this morning? Let's see. Dom, did I say good morning to Dom? I may have. I'm going a little crazy this morning. The 1-4-20. Steve, good morning, Steve. It is great to see you. Lots of other people. Draft King. I'm not even excited at the new prospect of the 49ers. I'm just expecting failure. And then you're never going to be disappointed. That's one way to go through life. I kind of choose differently, but it's all right, man. Very cool. Rolex Dad. Don't know if I've seen Rolex Dad. Awesome. Dig Fresno State. Right on. Good morning, all. It is great to see Rolex Dad. Everybody say hello to Rolex Dad. He may have been in here. I'm not sure, but wanted to say good morning and acknowledge that. Very, very good to see you. JJ Raider. Hello, JJ Raider. Raiders have the 6th overall pick of the draft. Oh, you're talking about the Giants. All right, let's get into it, man. Let's get into the Giants. And look, I'm not down on the Giants at all. It's just that last night, we talk about these things all the time. If you're new to the show, I talk about what's in the bank and what you have to get nervous about. Well, now when I start looking at the starting pitching for the Giants, and they win last night. Let's not start negative. Yeah, let me reverse back. They win last night. They score 11 runs. Let me give you something positive. We're not going to start negative, okay? We're not going to start negative on the show. A couple of different things. First of all, runs per game. You see that little orangish kind of a thing. You see those runs per game. You don't normally see the Giants up that high, so let's celebrate it. They're second in the National League and 3rd overall with 100 runs. All right, now think about who they're behind. The Cubs, 124. They scored 18 in one game against the A's. I mean, those numbers are inflated because they played at Sutter Home, not a major league park, and they absolutely crushed the A's. So those are a little bit artificial and inflated, but they are what they are. The Yankees have Aaron Judge and have scored 107 runs, and there are your San Francisco Giants that have scored 100 runs. Tyler Fitzgerald has been hot. That's a good number by Alex Pavlovich. Started the series against Phillies, 237, 582. Now 320 and 858. So that's your number 9 hitter, as he points out. Bob Melvin's not going to change him and move him up. A lot of people will be like, well, come on, Bob, move him up in the order. If he's hitting like that, let's just let it go. Let's just keep it right there. But I'm not going to say Tyler Fitzgerald's going to hit 320 with an 858 OPS, but he had points last year, especially in July. He hit 11 of his 15 home runs, something like that, where he's one of those streaky guys. So it's like, just leave the guy alone. But they're 3rd overall in baseball in scoring runs. Here's the rundown from last night. 𝐬𝐮 continues to stay hot, 2 for 4, a double, couple RBIs, base on balls. 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞𝐭 Lee's been a revelation, 2 for 5, a double. He's a doubles machine, leading the league, leading baseball. Matt Chapman, you would look at his numbers. I'm going to pop up the Giants numbers in just a second. You'd look at his overall numbers and not be all that impressed, but he's walked 16 times, and he's got a 785 OPS, even though he's not really hitting. And then there's Tyler Fitzgerald that just showed, 3 of 5, a double, and RBI. The bullpen has been absolutely great. I haven't been a huge fan of Belbiv DeVivens, but there he is right there. Last year, it was absolutely great, and it was a great story, but I get nervous when he's out there. Same with Trevino. Remember him on the A's. It was very, very good. Was out of the league for a long time, but he pitched really well last night. So they bailed out a really bad Robbie Ray performance, and there's just no other way to do it. So, again, runs 3rd in the league, very happy. I told you this before the season even started. I said, look, this team has power. They were 6th last year in home runs on the road. They just get Oracle Parked a lot, Triple Alleyed a lot. And so these are home runs on the road this year, home runs on the road. Now, it's dependent on games, but again, what are they at? 12 games, 17 home runs. So, on the road, this is. So they can hit home runs. They've got power on the team. It's just Oracle Park isn't a fun place to hit. So last year, they were 6th in baseball in road home runs. This year, they're, 4th in road home runs, tied for 3rd, I should say. That's not unusual. It's not unusual to be 4th in home runs on the road, Tom Jones. So that's not an unusual number for them. They're okay with it. So that's the good side of things. Offense is great. Relievers are great. The defense has been very, very good. Here's where they have to wake up, and I think they will, because this is how the Giants win. It's great that the offense is off to this start. Maybe the offense can be above average for the season and better than what it's been in the past. But if you look right there, the San Francisco Giants are 27th. I had to look at that number. 27th in starter ERA at 4.68. That cannot continue. 4.68 for their starter ERA. Their pen bails them out constantly like they did last night. Look at that. Number 2 in baseball behind the Padres, who have been ridiculous. A 1.78 ERA from the bullpen. Only the Padres at a 1.52, as you can see there on the graphic. If you're listening on the podcast, you're like, what are you talking about? So that's why I'm over-explaining it. Padres have a 1.52 bullpen ERA. The Giants have a 1.78. So what this is telling you so far is they're winning with their bullpen, which is a hammer bullpen. They're playing great defense. Their offense is one of the best in baseball. We're talking about the San Francisco Giants, third with 100 runs, only behind the Cubs and the Yankees. And the Cubs numbers are kind of inflated, but okay, they are what they are. So third in baseball is this offense. I just score about scoring runs, and then home runs are obviously a big deal. The numbers suggest when you hit home runs, you win more games. It's just as simple as that. And on the road, where it's more fair, they've got 17 home runs, which is tied for third in baseball. So the question of the day, and why I did this as the cover on the show today, is can they keep it up? I'm not trying to be negative at all. I'm just saying that this is a non-traditional way for the Giants in this ballpark to win baseball games. They don't win games by bludgeoning you to death. They don't win games by scoring 11 runs like they did yesterday against the Phillies. Hopefully they can win this series and kind of stem the tide on that. The Reds won a series against them. So, they scored a bunch of runs. 2 games I've been at so far at Oracle Park this year, Willie Adames with the walk-off double-digit runs against the Mariners. And then Mike Yastrzemski with the walk-off, what was that, a week ago, 10 days ago, whatever it was. So they're winning baseball games, playing great defense, bullpen giving up virtually nothing, and scoring a ton of runs. That's not Giants baseball. Giants baseball long-term, I think, is worth 13-5, 18 games through the season. You make an assessment on a baseball season at 40 games. So about a third of the way, or a quarter of the way, through the season, 40, 80, 120, 160, a quarter of the way through the season. Boy, I'm bad at math. Quarter of the way through the season is when you make the first real analysis on baseball. We're 18 games in. It's a nice start. It's a fun story. I'm not down on the Giants at all. I think they can have a really good offense, because we'll go through it in just a second. There's a few guys doing maybe above their skis a little bit, over their skis a little bit in terms of offense, but not everybody. So they can still do what they can do, and guys like Willie Adames and Matt Chapman, et cetera, can be better. So I think they can score runs. I don't know if they're going to be the third best offense, and I just base it on runs. I don't care about OPS, this, that, the other. Home runs are nice. Absolutely. You got to be at least a competent baseball team in hitting home runs, which this team is. The bullpen, it can't keep up this pace, but I think it can be a really, 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 really good bullpen. But the starters, I got to get more guys in the bank, as I often talk about. Logan Webb is in the bank. I thought Robbie Ray was. I'm removing Robbie Ray from that after his last couple of outings. We'll get into it in just a second. I did a piece yesterday. I took about 5 minutes out of the show yesterday, and I'd advise you to go watch it. It's only about 5 minutes on Justin Verlander, and if the Giants have a Verlander problem. I also did a short on it as well. Make sure you have those alerts on, and you'll know when those are released to the public, not just the followers, the listeners, and the Lund loyalists, which get early look at those kind of things. But I released that all yesterday on Justin Verlander because I was like, I'm nervous about Justin Verlander. And now I have to add Robbie Ray to the mix. It's like, damn. And Landon Roop is young. We don't know. And Jordan Hicks last time out wasn't very good. In the second half of last year, he tired out. So I don't put him in the bank. So I have one starter. I'm not ripping alarm bells or anything like that. It's great they're off to this start. I think legitimately the bullpen is this. I think the hitting to an extent is this. The defense, I think, is this, but the starting pitching has got to be better. We cannot have, you cannot have, the Giants cannot have one guy that you can rely on in the rotation. It can't be that way, because you can't rely on Verlander right now. You can't rely on Hicks right now. You can't rely on Ray right now. Landon Roop is kind of a wild card, and if I'm Hayden Birdsong, I'm sitting around going, when do I get my shot? Now, it's not time to panic on Robbie Ray. He's a veteran. You got a veteran manager in Bob Melvin. He is going to allow these guys more rope than a different manager or a different team. The analytics say, get him out of there. Buster Posey and Bob Melvin are going to be more patient, especially Bob Melvin. He's a veteran guy. He always relies on veteran players. He is going to give veteran players more rope. It's just how it's going to be. I said in the piece about Justin Verlander, he's 4 starts in, has not had a good one yet. What does he get? 30 to 33 starts, 30 to 32 starts in a season. How much do you give him? 10? Do you give him a third of the season? He's four through, so 6 more Verlander starts. That seems like a little much for me, even if his name is Justin Verlander. Robbie Ray isn't going anywhere. Ray has shown flashes this year. His first start when he got the first 15 batters and then just everything fell apart. Or was that the second start? Can't remember. He has shown flashes where he's been absolutely dominant. But right now, he's leading the National League in walks, and that's not good. He's almost at a walk in inning. So let me pop those things up for you. And again, I feel good about the Giants. I'm not saying I don't. I'm just saying starting pitching has got to start contributing at a much higher level than what they are right now. That's all I'm saying, is that I'm looking at this thing going, okay, hang on. Like, there's a lot of really positive signs for the Giants, but we all know how they win games when they win, and they've got to have starting pitching. So I'm not concerned about Bailey hitting 184. I am concerned about Lamont Wade Jr. right there hitting 102 with a 224 on base percentage, because even if he's not hitting, he's usually walking. He has 8 bases on balls. He has 20 strikeouts in 59 plate appearances. That will not do. And he's a veteran, and I get it. But at some point, it's like, okay, what has 𝐃𝐨𝐬𝐵 got? And Bryce Eldridge, I just showed you a video from Bryce Eldridge. He's still in Arizona working on some things, coming back from injury. He's not even close. So don't even bring up his name. I don't know who else can play first base. I don't. But it's got to be something where I wish a Ramos could, or something like that, and then Matos could go to left field, and I don't think that's a deal. But you can't have somebody this bad in your lineup. You just can't. And he needs to, you've got to strain this or that. I said that yesterday about Verlander. You've got to strain, remember? A strain. Like, that's got to happen with Lamont Wade Jr. They got to put him on the injured list. If he keeps doing this, he's an automatic out, and he's striking out a third of the time that he's up at the plate, and he's not getting on base, and you just look at his at-bats. He's pressing. He's normally a guy that's very relaxed up there, deep ball counts, working the pitcher. There's at least some value to that. He's not doing that. So he's an absolute zero offensively, and he's just okay defensively. I just mentioned Fitzgerald. He's hot. Adames will get going. This is why I am optimistic about the offense, is that Adames, again, he struck out 20 times. He's only hitting 205 with a 582 OPS. He'll be better. Chapman, people don't see the full picture with him. Obviously, he is great defensively and adds tremendous value. But they look at his numbers and say, okay, he's hitting 222, 9 RBIs, a couple of home runs. Look at that number that's darkened right there. 16 walks, which leads to a 745 OPS, which is actually an above average OPS. So because Matt Chapman walks so much and is so patient as a hitter, he's actually a positive even when he's not hitting the way that he is. Ramos has run hot and cold this year. There's been games where he's had 2-3 hits and been really, really good at the plate. He's had a lot of them where you're going, what are you doing? 𝐮𝐬 Liu's absolutely great. He's leading the league in doubles with 10. There's nothing really to say about him. 338. He's the guy that he'll fall off a little bit. I mean, is he going to hit 338 with an over 1,000 OPS? I doubt it, but still, let's ride it. Same thing with 𝐬𝐮. He's over 1,000 on his OPS with 3 home runs and 11 RBIs. And Wilmer Flores already has 2 more home runs. And what do you have? I think he's approaching or about at how many RBIs? I think he might have had 27 or something last year. So these 3 guys at the bottom, they're not going to keep doing what they're doing, but I expect Adames to pick it up, Chapman to pick it up. Lamont Wade Jr. can only go up, can't he? Or at least that position. And Patrick Bailey's more of a defensive guy. So offensively, they're gonna score runs. Not at this level that they're scoring them right now. They've got 100 runs, which is 3rd in the league, or 3rd in baseball, 2nd in the National League, 3rd in baseball. And then not much of a bench to speak of. I know we like Matos, and it would be really cool if 𝐃𝐨𝐬𝐵 could start hitting. Sometimes he gets exit velocities of like 110, 111. You're like, there it is. And then he'll chase 3 sliders in the dirt the next 3 times up. So I'd love to see 𝐃𝐨𝐬𝐵 be a super utility player and for now take over for Lamont Wade Jr. He just doesn't hit either, but I think his swings are better than what Lamont Wade Jr. is. So offensively, yeah, absolutely optimistic. Should feel good about the offense. They're going to dip down a little bit, but they're going to be a good enough offense to win games. Now, this is a different story right here. Here's your guy in the bank. Robbie Ray, not bad numbers off the jump, right? 3-0 with a 4.19, not so bad. But in 19 1/3, he's walked 15. That's the problem. 21 strikeouts, 15 walks for Robbie Ray. He has at times this year looked really, really dominant. But last night, he just didn't have a feel for it. That's what coming back from Tommy John is. And I know he did it, the end of last year. And what did he start in July or August, whatever it was. And it's still lingering. He's not yet Robbie Ray, but because in the offseason, and I said this in the offseason, and they said that they like their young pitchers, and we're going to certainly find out. But there was like a Jack Flaherty, for example, and I haven't looked at Flaherty's numbers. I have no idea what he's doing. But Detroit signed him late in the process. There was a couple other veterans out there that they could have had. And I'm not talking about Blake Snell. I'm not talking about Corbin Burns. I'm not talking about at the top of the list of pitchers. None of those guys. Max Fried. They were never going to be in on those guys. I get it. They're major market. They don't always act like it. Buster Posey said that they like their young pitchers, and we're going to find out pretty soon. They got about 900 Carsons in the minors. They have Hayden Birdsong, which I constantly talk about him, and he's been hot and cold this year, but when he's hot, he's really, really good, almost unhittable. And then I haven't checked in on Kyle Harrison. I think his first start I know was really, really good. I think maybe Harrison might be best served long-term as a reliever. He's only got a couple of plus pitches, but we'll see. But you look at Ray right there concerning the walks. Verlander hasn't had a good outing yet, and he's 42, so the name is great. The product is not. Jordan Hicks' first couple of starts, very nice, but the last start, not really good. And based on last year's track record, you get a little nervous about Jordan Hicks. And then Landon Roop has been better than the numbers, I think, would indicate. Like I said, he got 20 swings and misses the last time he was out. But that rotation right there, like I said, it's 27th in overall ERA, and that's with Logan Webb having a 263. So 419, 675, 587, 480. That's not everything. I understand that as far as ERA is concerned, but you have one guy in the bank, one guy in the vault right there, and it's Logan Webb. And the rest of the guys, I think Robbie Ray can fix it rather quickly. Verlander is a major concern to me. Jordan Hicks, we'll see. It was only the one bad outing. And then Landon Roop, he's your number 5. That's always going to be kind of a we'll wait and see kind of approach. Now, you go to the bullpen, it's totally different. Walker, dominant. Rogers, dominant. Rodriguez, dominant. Duvall is always a roller coaster ride. Miller's been absolutely great, even though I haven't been the biggest fan. Birdsong certainly has been up and down to me. When he's dominant, like I said, he's just really difficult. He's almost a strikeout an inning kind of a guy. Trevino, I don't love, but you know what? He's been solid so far. Bibbins makes me a little bit nervous, but overall, it's a really good bullpen, and they could probably add more at some point. So pitching-wise, bullpen's bailing out the starters quite a bit, and the only concern that I have is they're off to this great 13-5 start, and I feel great about it, and this is not negative in any way, shape, or form, is that because of this ballpark, the Giants have a certain way they win baseball games. And I said it at the beginning of the season, 3-2, 2-1, 2-zip, those kind of games. And we're 18 games in, and their offense may, because 4 runs has always been the magic number in this ballpark. Not outside of it. You're going to have other ballparks and other factors and smaller parks in Colorado and Cincinnati and those kind of places, and 4 runs in those parks won't be enough. But what I'm saying is the majority, you play half your games at Oracle Park, and the key number at Oracle Park is 4. 4 runs and you're good. So can this offense generate 4 runs a game at home and maybe take some of the pitching through the years that this ballpark has been open? It's been about pitching, defense, timely hitting, pitching, defense, timely hitting. I don't see that changing. So the starters have got to get it going. That's all I'm saying. I think this is a good baseball team. I think they will stay in it. I think they will contend. Injuries always happen, all that kind of stuff. And so you better have some depth in the minors. Right now, they need somebody to step up at first base because Jung-Hoo Lee and Mike Yastrzemski, and they're not going to keep it up at this pace. We know Yastrzemski is a roller coaster ride offensively, and at some point, he's just going to do what he's going to do. It's great to have Tyler Fitzgerald doing what Tyler Fitzgerald is doing, and rarely over the last number of years have the Giants had enough good offensive players where they had a few going at the same time. And right now, Lee, Yastrzemski, Flores, Fitzgerald, you have 4 guys in your lineup that are consistently hitting the way that those 4 guys right this very minute are hitting. And then you throw in a guy like Adames who's going to give you key hits and get better. And Chapman, like I said, he gets on base a lot, but Chapman's going to start hitting a little bit better. And he's a similar player to Yastrzemski in that he will go through peaks and valleys. Then you look at the end of the year, like last year, he had 27 home runs. That's Chapman. He'll get them in bunches. He'll struggle for a while, but he's great defensively and he gets on base. So I'm not in any way, shape, or form suggesting that this is not a good baseball team. or that 13-5 is a mirage or an illusion to start the season. I'm not saying that. But the way that the San Francisco Giants win baseball games in Oracle Park, where they play half their games, is their starting pitching has got to be solid. So they have got to get 5 or 6 from these guys because they're overutilizing the bullpen, and at some point that's going to burn out. And at some point the offense is going to hit the skids, and the starting pitching is going to have to bail them out at some point. And right now they have one starter in the bank. This is on Fox yesterday. Here's Dontrelle Willis.
But the Padres have shown they love standing up to the...
Nobody would have thought about that, not even on Market Street, that the Giants would have this type of offense. But now they had some ads with some leadership with Justin Verlander in the rotation. You know, Webb is a big-time ace. They feel like they can lay quiet in the weeds and let everybody talk about the Padres and the Giants, and they will be there. But the NL West is the best division in baseball. It's going to be a gauntlet. Even with the Diamondbacks and their pitching and their talent, it's going to be a fun division.
You know what's amazing about that is the Diamondbacks. I read this morning. I don't remember who threw it out there. Numerous people did, so I'm not stealing it from anybody. And even if I did, that's the business we are in. Everybody steals and nobody gives credit. Arizona's 11-7. They'd be leading like almost every other division, I think, in baseball. So look, everybody is talking about the Dodgers because they always do. Everybody's talking about the Padres. The Giants are getting a fair amount of buzz now, but Arizona's really good too. So you've got 4 really good teams in this division. So you can't have your starting pitching not be great. That's all I'm saying. And so when I threw this up there today and I said, can they keep it up? It's not that I don't think they can. It's just the traditional way that they win. I would feel better about things if the starting pitching, at least 3 of these guys, you could put them in the bank. A 5 is always a wild card. Like your 5th starter, I'm not going to hold a really high standard for a 5th starter because for most teams, that kind of rotates in and out during the season. A long guy can be a starter, this and that. I'm just looking and I'm saying, okay. And I'm not putting Ray in this category because I've seen Ray and so have you. Robbie Ray this year has had stretches where he's just flat dominant. Now, 15 walks and 19 and a third, that's not going to get it done. So they've got to work on some mechanical issues with Robbie Ray. I think he'll be fine. He can be my number 2 starter. That's absolutely fine. Justin Verlander to me is a major concern because he just hasn't shown it yet. And he's 42. And I love the name and he's great and all the different things that he's done in his career. And I'm not writing him off at 42 because he does. I've said this before. He kind of has that Nolan Ryan rubber arm. Like he doesn't have an arm issue right now. It's just what's going on. And Father Time is undefeated. So, and by the way, ironically enough, Tom Brady was drafted today, 25 years ago today. So, Brady can play forever and Curry can play forever and all these different guys. But at some point, he rears his head and says, it's time. And he's got, the big machete and all that kind of stuff. It's time. And so I'm not saying right now it is time for Justin Verlander. It's too early to make that assessment. But he's got to start showing the organization something because they've got to have that discussion. Like if he goes out now, okay, that's your 5th start. If he goes out next time and he stinks, okay, now we're into 5 starts for Justin Verlander. You get 30 of these things in a season. What do we give him? 6, 8, 10? Now he's earned it because his name's Justin Verlander. Jordan Hicks doesn't get that. Len Roop doesn't get that. No, Robbie Ray does. Justin Verlander does. So those guys are going to get more rope. Again, I'm not down on Robbie Ray. It's just he's got to not walk batters. I mean, bottom line, you can't walk batters. You can't walk 15 batters in 19 and a third. Duh. Thanks, Captain Obvious. But as far as Justin Verlander goes, they've got to start having a conversation if he goes out next time and struggles. And I remember when I was thinking about this yesterday. I remember when 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐿 started to struggle. And we would have this conversation on the show, and this was on 95.7 The Game, and I was doing the show with Pop before we moved over to KNBR. And we started looking, and it was just the way Timmy was pitching. It was, and then we were up to like 5 or 6 starts and all this. Then we had the conversations more and more and more. And I don't know if you remember, but his dad, Chris, who's since passed, rest in peace, came into the studio one time, and Timmy had just signed I don't know, the Giants didn't want to give him a ton of years. I think it was maybe a 2 and a 40 or something back in those days, a lot of money. And I was criticizing him and just saying, look, I think he was through 6 or 8. It was probably like 8 starts. And he was still in the rotation. And I just remember saying, look, he just doesn't have it. We can just see it. It's not just the numbers. It's just the ball wasn't darting. The gun wasn't lighting up on the fastball. There was all sorts of things you could tell. There's all these telltale signs. And that was back also in the day that we weren't quite to the analytical way that we are now with spin rates and all the different things and all the websites you could go to see exactly what the numbers were saying about each pitcher. And we were just doing this by eye with some help from analytics, but not like it is today. And you could just see from his stuff that 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐷𝐿 wasn't the same guy. And so the conversation, a very difficult conversation started of, when are they going to pull this guy out of the rotation? And I think it was around 10 starts, about a third of the way through. They just went, yeah. And that, remember, 𝐬𝐿𝐿 was a guy who was a god on this team. Now, Justin Verlander is going to the Hall of Fame. He's a first ballot no-brainer, but he hasn't done it here. So if I'm this organization and I'm Bob Melvin, there's got to be something. And before the 10 starts, let's say it's the next couple of starts, like if he gets to 6 and he's still pitching to a near 7 ERA, I've got to go to Justin Verlander and I've got to say to him, look, we got to come up with something phantom. You've strained something, your ankle, your elbow, your this, your that. I don't care what we come up with, but we got to stop this train for a minute and we got to go into the station. We got to fix something. We got to figure out. We got to look under the hood. We got to see what's going on. We got to work on a couple of things, because one thing about this organization, at least this is what they tell us, and why they didn't go out and get another veteran starter, which I thought they should have done to give themselves some insurance, is that I think that Hayden Birdsong is damn ready. And I have, like I said, I don't sit and scour the minors, and I need to have somebody on. Melissa Larkart does a great job, somebody like that. And I know it always lights up when people, I need to know what's going on with some of the minor league guys and if anybody's ready down there, because I keep hearing about all these guys, and you look at the top 30 prospect list, and it's like 3 Carsons and Mason Black's still down there, and Kyle Harrison's down there, and Birdsong and all that kind of stuff. And you don't want to completely rely on those guys, especially early in the season, because there's only so many cards you can play, right? So when do we play that card? When do we yank this guy up here? When do we start messing with the rotation? Well, if I'm the Giants and I'm 13-5 and I'm saying to myself, okay, the offense, check. The relievers, obviously, check. Defense, check. Logan Webb, check. After that, okay, Robbie Ray, we've seen the stretches. After that, you got, and I'll put Landon Roop in there, as he hasn't damaged himself to not stay in the rotation. It's only that Hayden Birdsong is sitting there throwing 98-mile-an-hour BBs, and you're like, get that guy in the rotation. So they've got to make some sort of decision here in the next couple of starts, especially on Verlander, to say, okay, what do we give him? 10? Or do we stop it at 7 and say, hey, he's got a strain? And then we start looking at some things and we throw on the side and we really, meticulously look at this thing and look at some video and sit down. And I know they're doing that during the week, but maybe without the pressure of, man, your start's coming up, so you got to do this, this, and this. Let's just take, let's take 10 days and take a look at this thing. We'll bring one of our young guys up, see if they've got any magic in their arm, that kind of a thing. Because right now, he's not giving you a shot to win. So that's what's going on. Very positive about the Giants, but the starting pitching is a major concern, because that's the way this team wins baseball games. So if they're not doing that, I just am very skeptical that the offense at its current level and the relievers who have to be used so much. Remember, I think they were used, I haven't looked this up. They were used, the second or third most, I think, last year, was the Giants bullpen, and obviously at the end they burned out. So you can't burn them out early in the season like this and expect them every single time to bail you out. Like, they can't bail you out every single time. So anyway, there you go. Oh my God. I can't believe that that's what I just popped onto, but you're exactly right. I don't know why you guys are talking about this, but it was amazing. 𝐸𝐿 shredded the national anthem on opening day. Yeah, I didn't get my phone out to do the video of it, but he's still so good. We saw Journey, just to go on a quick random real quick. We saw Journey at, where was it? One of the hotels in Vegas about 5 years ago, obviously with their new lead singer, not Steve Perry. And it was an awesome show. And we were, because it was in, I don't know, not even a couple thousand seats. I think it was might have been at the Hard Rock, because I remember that the casino tables and everything said Journey and everything. And it was some sort of anniversary tour or something like that. And they were doing a residency there. And we go there, and I can't even remember what the arena there held. I don't even know they call it an arena, but it was only a couple thousand people. And so we were like third row, right to the left, and 𝐸𝐿 was standing right in front of me, just shredding. I don't know how old he is, but I mean, he had the sunglasses on and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, that dude can still get after it. And then to see him play the national anthem on opening day, that was killer. That was really, really good. So anyway, yeah, glad to go on a tangent about that. All right, thoughts. Let's see. Journey at AT&T last August 24th Rock. They put on a great show. And that kid can sing, and he moves. He just runs around, and the old guys are just sitting back there going, right on. Very cool. Yeah, he rocked it on opening day. It was very cool. Let's see. Since Larry's done making mock drafts, he'll have some free time to scour the minors for you. And the Crook is not done making mock drafts, is he? Man, By the way, I shouldn't be drinking energy drinks. My doctor told me I shouldn't be. And then yesterday I saw one. I'm like, hadn't had one in like 2 weeks. I had to have one this morning. Yeah, is he done? Did he say he's done with his final one? I'm doing a final one on Wednesday, even though I don't want to. I'm going to. I just like to see, like the day before, I like to see how many, not so much that I get right with teams, but how many I get right in the first round. I don't know. I just like to have fun with it. Hi, AJ. It is great to see you this morning. Hicks has a long list from Bowmel. We'll see. I know he likes him. But if he pitches the way he pitches last time out, I'm not overly concerned about Hicks at this point of the season. I'm concerned about Hicks after the All-Star break. That's what I think. I think after the All-Star break, I get a little bit nervous about Hicks, and I go, Skill says, I give JV 8 starts minimum if his stuff is good and all things are equal. That's probably what they'll do. 10 seems a little much to me. And all I'm saying is that he does right now deserve the benefit of the doubt. It's only 4 starts. I'm not panicking. He's 42 coming off a neck injury, though. And so, yeah, and they know all these things. They also know this, and I haven't studied the analytics. Again, I like analytics. I get it. They have their place. I'm not anti-analytical guy in any sport, especially in baseball. They're far too important. I said this yesterday. There's 162 games. So in that length of time, the numbers usually come to the mean. So they will show themselves as being what they are. So I get that. Over 16 or 17, 18 games in the NFL, not so much in the playoffs. That's why the playoffs are so different. You look at the numbers in the playoffs, but they don't always get there because there's just not enough games. There's not enough data. Take that for data. But in over 162, that usually is what happens. So I understand that. They know what the analytics say. They know what the numbers say. They know what the spin rates are. They know they know all the things. They're studying the film. So I'm not. I'm a results-oriented person. And I know that that's not always the way it should go. No, he's doing really well. It's just, hard hit ball rate. He's just running into some bad luck. I don't care. Like, I don't care right now if Lamont Wade Jr. should have a 700 batting average. It's 105. I don't care if the numbers say there's a hard hit, which it isn't saying that. He's not having good at bats. But I'm just using this as a hypothetical. Like sports, just like life, is results oriented. You're either getting hits or you're not. You're either getting batters out or you're not. You're either scoring touchdowns or you're not. You're either hitting shots or you're not. You either got the Johnson sale or you didn't. I mean, you could have gone about the process perfectly in your job, but if you didn't and you didn't get the results, then you're not going to have that job very long. So that's what I'm saying is that Lamont Wade Jr. could have great, exit velocity, this, that, and the other, but he's hitting 105 to me, and he doesn't have great exit velocity. But he's hitting 105. It's a problem. Justin Verlander has a 6.75 ERA and has struggled. Whatever the numbers say, that's what the bottom line to the whole thing is. The only reason I'm excluding Robbie Ray is I've seen Robbie Ray in stretches be dominant. He had a stretch, now that I'm thinking about it, I think it's his second start, where he retired 15 straight. Now that was his first start. And then the wheels completely came off for him. I've seen him have dominant stretches. He's walking a boatload of batters, 15 and 19 in the third, and that can be, there's something mechanically wrong that they can look at and see and say, oh, we got it. Like that can be fixed. I'm not overly concerned about Robbie Ray walking batters. He doesn't have a history of that, so they can fix that. Jordan Hicks, it's just one start. I'm not overly concerned. Like I said, it's him tiring out later in the season what I'd be concerned about. Verlander hasn't shown it. He just hasn't shown it, and he's 42. So if he was 32, if he was 25, if he was 27, it was like, whatever. It's just like Logan Webb. If Logan Webb threw 4 starts at a 6.75, I'd be like, he'll come around. But Justin Verlander's 42, a little different. Yeah, I don't know if she can. I don't know if she's not a pitching coach, but I mean, certainly can't hurt. Hi, Daniel. Sorry about that, about your Kings last night. If Harrison or Wisdom aren't in the rotation later, they read 100% Phoenix extra. Yeah, look, I wanted an extra veteran. I know this doesn't really help us at this point. As I was watching the offseason and watching some guys, and like I said, not Blake Snell, not top of the market guys, not Corbin Burns. I knew that the Giants weren't going after those guys. I knew it. I was told it. So I knew that they weren't going to go at that level. I didn't mind going after Justin Verlander, but I said this in the offseason, and there's still plenty of time to turn this thing around. Justin Verlander should have been looked at and viewed by the Giants the same way that a young pitcher is viewed at. are viewed like, which is if they give us something, that's great, but I can't rely on them. And right now, that's been proven true. At 42, it's kind of like 22. Now, stay with me on this because you're like, what are you talking about? What I mean is when you bring a young guy up and he hasn't yet proven it, you can't put him in the bank. Like Landon Roop is a young pitcher, and so he's the number 5, and if he does well, that's great. If he doesn't, we have other options. It's the same way I looked at Verlander. He's 42, coming off a major neck injury, did not have a good year last year. Could be the end. So what you have to do with Verlander is you have to get yourself some insulation, some insurance. And they said that their young pitchers were their insurance. Okay, we're going to see that pretty shortly if this keeps up. But what I was saying is, Jack Flaherty didn't sign for much. Let me look him up because I keep using him as the example. But he was out there late in the season, pitched well for the Tigers, and then the Dodgers pick him up, and he's 1-1 with a 253. There you go. And he costs hardly anything. 4 games started, 1-1 with a 253, and over 21 and a 30 has 25 strikeouts. That would be nice. And I know he's not making much money. So, and again, I'm not saying this because Flaherty's having a good season. I'm just saying, here's a guy, career record, 56-42 with a 361. He was great with the Cardinals and ran into some injury problems. And then he pitched well for the Tigers last year. The Dodgers get him at the deadline, and then he's sitting out there until late in the process. Now, he probably wanted too much money, but Jack Flaherty's a West Coast guy, Southern California guy, would have made a ton of sense for the Giants. He didn't end up signing for much. Let me see Jack Flaherty's contract. And this, I don't know what the Tigers are doing. I don't even look at the American League hardly. Let me look at his contract. I know it's a 1-year deal. Contract. Okay, he's at a 235 with an opt-out after this year, so he'll opt out. So his 2025, let's see, it's in 2020. So he's making, that's a decent amount of money. He's making $25 million. He's making $25 million, and then as an opt-out after this year at 10, he's going to opt out 100%. But if you gave Verlander 15, what's an extra $10 million for Flaherty, especially with you being $30 million under the tax line? So that's my only point, is that what I would have liked is if you want to sign Verlander, that's fine. But with Robbie Ray coming back from Tommy John, with counting on Landon Roop, who's young, with counting on Birdsong, who's young, with Hicks, who burned out last year and to me still is more of an effective bullpen arm throwing 102 than he is as a 3rd or 4th starter in your rotation. I thought Flaherty was a guy, and he showed his postseason mettle and was a top of the rotation starter with the Cardinals. And I thought there's a guy that, late in the process. I mean, he was probably the last name pitcher to sign. He was sitting around, probably because he wanted a big number. I mean, 25 for him, that's a pretty big chunk of money. But he's off to a really good start, and that would have been a nice insurance piece in this rotation. And then you could have, worked around that. But if you add Flaherty to this rotation, he'd be your 2, Ray'd be your 3, Verlander, Hicks would be your 4, Roop probably would be a long guy. You'd have so much depth. And maybe they just didn't believe that they needed that. But that's what I'm saying is, Ray is still coming off TJ. Verlander's 42. Maybe they have enough, but they've constantly said they're young pitching. They didn't need to go out and get another starter for insurance because they felt really good about their depth of their rotation. We might find out very soon on that. All right, I got to move off of baseball. We've done 43 minutes on it. And I don't want to the one thing is I don't want to come across as negative. They're 13-5. The offense is fire. Jung-Hoo Lee is great. Yastrzemski's off to an amazing start. The bullpen is absolutely hammer. I mean, just hammer time, man. So I want to be positive about everything. I just, for things to feel real, I'll leave it with this on the Giants. For things to feel real about the Giants, the starting pitching has to produce, at least at an average level. We all know that because we've watched the Giants in this park for years. If they don't get at least average and really above average starting pitching, they're not going anywhere. And this is an illusion. What's up, Skills? Oh, people, I gotta say, man, I don't know if I've ever done Adderall. Can't believe that I've ever done. Sons of Johnny the Master is one of my favorite. I could not agree with you more, man. Sam Huff is a 0 at the plate, just a 0. And who would know more about backup catching and getting a backup catcher than Buster Posey? Because all those years, remember, like Nick Hundley and when Stephen Vogt came over and stuff. I mean, they've had some really nice catchers off the bench, and you got to give Patrick Bailey some time off. One of the biggest things about him is he's awesome, and everybody gets the pitch framing and how valuable he is, and even if he doesn't hit, and he'll get some key hits throughout the season. That's just what Bailey does. And you don't want him out of lineup. I remember when Gabe Kapler was like, God, he's just so good, though. I can't take him out of lineup. He got asked directly the question, like, it was late in the season a couple of years ago, and they said, well, God, don't you got to get Bailey some time off? And he's like, God, but he's so good. And he is. Defensively, he's amazing. But you've got to give him time off. And I agree with you, Johnny. Sam Huff, like every time he comes up to the plate, it's like, bro, come on, man. And I know he's got a little bit of power because that's what, no matter if it's Dave or John or Dwayne or Mike or whatever, Sam Huff's got some power. Like, I get it. But you got to connect to the ball. Like, that was always the thing with Barry Bonds. Okay, I get it. Barry Bonds' head is giant. And he just hit it 700 feet, but you got to be able to connect ball to bat to ball. And Sam Huff doesn't do that. Yeah, he gives me no confidence whatsoever. So, Joey Bart over and over and over. A backup catcher would be nice. That's all I'm saying. And Sam Huff, I could not agree with you more. I'm glad you brought it up because every time he's up at the plate, I'm just like, my God, man. Like, this dude is a zero at the plate. Anything else I missed on the Giants? If you just joined us, go back. Like I said, runs scored. I mean, who'd have thought that? Even at this point, 18 games into the season, halfway to make it a real determination on this team. 100 runs. Great stuff. Home runs on the road. Awesome. Tied for third. I told you that last year. Starters ERA. 27th. Pen ERA. Second. 178. Got to get the starting pitching going. That's all I'm saying. All right. So that's where we are in episode 118. Can the Giants offense keep it up? Starters have not been good. Let's get to the NBA and the Warriors, and we'll do more of this tomorrow. It's kind of a take a break day from the Warriors, but I was thinking about this, and then we'll get into Katie and to Houston and the Klay night before we get into a little bit of 49ers, and I got a great caboose pistol for you today. But an amazing caboose pistol, actually, because it's going to lead into a bunch of radio stories. So make sure you stay for that. But why the Dubs can and can't. Now, what's interesting is, and I showed you this yesterday, Vegas has the Warriors as the favorite. And it's funny. I always think this. You talk trash with your friends, my team's going to beat your team, and my team's better than your team, and my player's better than your player. But then when it comes down to money, then it kind of sobers us all up, right? We all maybe have a bias. We like our players too much. We like our team too much. Maybe we think our team is better than actually what it is because we love the players. We're close to the players. We're close to the team. We understand it. We don't see the other team nearly as much. We don't maybe know about their secondary B-list, intricate type players that make them go. Just, we don't know the intricacies that we know of our own team. And sometimes the reality of that makes you think your team is better or worse. I tend to look on the other side and think the team is worse. But a lot of fans, most fans think my team is better than what it is. My players are better than what they are. But when it comes down to money, throwing money down, all right, prove it. Throw down $100. Whoa, I'm not really that confident in my team. That's kind of what happens. But Vegas is unbiased in that way. They don't care. They have algorithms and things they do and the way that they study and all that kind of stuff. And as my dad said oftentimes, Vegas, it was not built on winners. It was built on losers. All those big hotels and lights and all the kind of things and water shows and all those different things. They were not built because you and I went down to Vegas and cleaned up and went home and bought ourselves a mansion or a car. No, that didn't happen. We lost money and we're sad and we're hungover and we got on a plane going, man, I'm never going to Vegas. And then, 3 days later we go back. But it wasn't built on winners. It was built on losers. And so when money gets, when the rubber hits the road and it's time to talk about money, Vegas doesn't screw around. So they've made the Warriors almost 2-1 favorites over the Rockets. And so the Rockets, even though it's a 2-7 matchup, the Rockets are the underdog in this series. Now, the reason why that is, and we'll go through why they can, why they can't. The number one reason, and really the only reason I believe that Vegas has made the Warriors the favorite is experience. And sometimes the Warriors show that experience, and sometimes, head-scratchingly enough, they do not. So they look at Jimmy Butler and they buy into the hype of playoff Jimmy, and they look at Draymond Green and Steph Curry, and they look at the rings, and they look at Steph Curry, and they look at Steve Kerr as the head coach. And what I've been saying the whole time is they're really good at figuring teams out. So I'm not saying that they're going to sweep the Rockets or beat them in 5, but one of the Warriors' major strengths through this whole run that they've had is they figure teams out. If they're healthy, they'll figure you out. And so that's what I kind of rely on. It's experience and the fact that they've figured teams out in the past, and they've had really good success against the Rockets. So Vegas, I'm sure because of those factors, decide that the Warriors are the team and that the Rockets are really young and they don't believe that they can do those things. Now, during the regular season, the Warriors beat the Rockets 3-2. I think that is largely irrelevant. It comes down to we're going to play you every night, and we're going to focus just on you, who can take advantage of what matchups. Houston showed you 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐻 Thompson, who's going to be on Steph Curry. He's got long arms. He's super athletic. They're going to bring doubles, get the ball in his hands, be physical with him. That's what everybody does with Steph Curry in the playoffs. So it becomes incumbent, and this is where my major key would be in this series. It becomes incumbent upon other people to step up and score on one end and then maintain the way that they've played defense since Jimmy Butler arrived on the other. Well, Jimmy Butler can step up. There's no question. Who else? Brandon Podziemski, to me, is the entire key to the series. Because of Brandon Podziemski and to a lesser extent, Moses Moody, and to some extent, guys like Quentin Post, are not hitting shots consistently, then the Rockets won't respect anybody, and they'll continue to be physical, and it's not only 𝐬𝐻 Thompson, it's everybody doubling and tripling and just saying anybody but 30 is going to beat us. Anybody but 30. But if Moses Moody is hitting patented corner threes, if Brandon Podziemski is playing the way he has played over the last couple of weeks of the season, then the Warriors are going to be a tough out no matter who they play. Because now it's like, okay, we're not going to adjust our game plan because Podziemski hit a couple of threes, but damn. And there's just no matter what the game plan is, and you see this all the time, and it just drives me through a friggin' wall. Even if it's in the Warriors' favor. I always laugh because they have these game plans and they drill it into their head, especially when it comes to the playoffs. But I'll use the Warriors as a perfect example. The other night I'm watching the play-in game, and defenders from Memphis are running at Draymond Green, leaving their spots and creating opportunities for Steph Curry. And I'm going, why are you running at a non-shooter? I understand that Draymond Green, to his credit, has become a much better three-point shooter. No doubt about it. But if Draymond Green's going to beat me, then I'm going to get beat. That's just how it's going to be. I'm not running at Draymond Green to open up a lane for Steph Curry, but teams do it because instinctually a coach tells you the ball, and it's like, okay, I got to run at that guy. One of the things that the Warriors have been good at through the years is, hey, Tony Allen, you want to try to beat us in the playoffs? You go right ahead. So there's going to be certain players that the Warriors, and they're more disciplined defensively, will say, go ahead, beat us. Like, we won't even step out to you. Go for it. And there are more and more players that can shoot the basketball, but they just being disciplined defensively and understanding and remembering in the moment, in the pressure of the defense or the pressure of the playoffs, remembering what you're supposed to be doing is a major thing. And you have no idea how many times guys make mental mistakes in the playoffs. And that's where youth comes in again. Is that because I've seen it, because I've been on beats and I know because when they used to do shoot arounds all the time and they would, here's the game plan and all this kind of stuff. It was great years and years ago when I was a beat reporter for the Utah Jazz. They don't do this anymore, but Jerry Sloan used to let the local media in, not once the playoffs started, but he would let the local media in. But the only caveat was nothing leaves this gym. Nothing leaves this building. And don't ask me questions about what you see because we're not talking about it. So you could see things in practices, and they don't do this anymore. He would open up practices so that you kind of knew what was going on, so that you weren't a stupid jackass and you would speculate and say things. But then things started to leak. Social media started to happen. Different people were in there, video, this, that, and the other. And, it became very difficult to contain things. And so he quit. He quit opening it up. So did the rest of the NBA. Shoot-arounds became less prevalent for that very reason, because it was like, we don't even want to allow you to speculate or ask us questions or what are we going to do tonight or how are we going to defend this guy? And there's more of that in the playoffs. You have to talk to the media more in the playoffs, but during the season, you don't nearly as much. So there used to be much more ability for the media to know what was going on. Now we do know what's going on because some of these great guys, the Marcus Thompsons of the world, have relationships with players and they find out the things that are going on. But my overall point in a playoff series, because everything gets drilled down and magnified, is that you've got to stick to the plan. And it sounds simple enough, right? It sounds simple enough. But when young players get into a series, they forget things. And sometimes they'll forget that Steph Curry is the greatest shooter to ever play the game. Or what they'll do is they'll forget that the game plan is we're going to keep 2 guys on Curry at all times. And I don't care if Draymond Green shoots. I don't care if, whatever the player is that's not named Curry. Even a lot of times it's, okay, Podziemski has to prove it to us on a certain night. And if he doesn't have it, then we're not even going to worry about him. So to me, just a long way to say this whole thing is Steph is going to be Steph. Jimmy's going to be Jimmy. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Draymond Green has got to watch Dillon Brooks because Dillon Brooks has one job in this series. One, irritate Draymond Green. Take Draymond Green out of the game, mentally take him out, get him off his game, get him kicked out, get him technical fouls. Like, you drill down on Draymond Green. You get into a mental warfare with Draymond Green because Dillon Brooks can't do anything else. So you do that. You get on, like I said, Dennis Rodman used to do this in the Bulls Jazz series in the NBA Finals. It wasn't his one job, but a lot of his job was to irritate Karl Malone. And Karl Malone was not mentally tough enough to handle it a lot of nights. And so that's what he did. He took their best player mentally out of the game. And Draymond's not their best player, but he's the engine that drives the team emotionally. And if he can get him out of the game, then that's a win for Houston. So that's his job. So that's kind of how things are going to work out. Amen Thompson, his job, and he's going to get help in this series. Can you shut down Steph Curry? No, you cannot. He's not going to go 1 for 10. He's not going to score 3 points. It's not going to be that way. So that's going to be kind of a different thing. And I've said this the whole time, and then we can move on to a couple other things in the NBA. This game is not going to be like April 6th, 106-96. And I do think that Houston showed their hand a little bit by the way that they defended them. And I think that they're going to go into game 1 and they're going to do the same thing. They're like, we won a game by 10 points on their floor doing it this way. Let's do it again. And just like boxers, the Warriors have enough time. And this is where, again, this is why winning and not having to play tomorrow night and keeping your fingers crossed for an 8 seed against Dallas is so, so important, because now they have this whole week. So they play on Tuesday. Yesterday was about treatment and getting right. And then today and tomorrow, they're going to go through practices and they're going to drill down on the Rockets. They'll leave probably late Friday. They'll do a shoot around at Toyota Center on Saturday, and then they'll play Sunday. There is no excuse for being tired. If anybody asks that question, they should be smacked, because they're not going to be tired. And they go Sunday for a game, Wednesday for a game. I mean, the first round plays out perfectly for a veteran team. And it's another reason why I think Vegas is looking at this going, well, they're not going to be tired. They're a veteran team. They're an older team, but they're going to get from Tuesday or from Wednesday to Sunday. They're going to get from Sunday to Wednesday. This isn't going to be about like, okay, we're ready to play today. Houston would rather play every other day and keep it in rhythm. And if if the veteran Warriors were tired or banged up or whatever, that's to their advantage. But in the first round, especially, they elongate the series. So another advantage for the Warriors. I think they're going to win it in 6. I've said it before. Now, the can't part of this whole thing, Houston's talented. You have to give it to them. Houston is talented, and they're athletic. And we got into this yesterday. I'm not going to bring up JK until we see him in the series, because at this point, I don't think he's going to play in the series. You would think that there would be some matchups athletically, Jalen Green being one that he would match up really well against, Amen Thompson being another, but it just doesn't look like they're going to find a way to get him on the court, because to me, you're playing everybody's minutes go up and the bench gets shorter. So if the bench gets shorter and there's a guy who's already not in the rotation, how does that make any kind of logical sense? Okay, your bench gets shorter in the playoffs. Kuminga wasn't in the rotation for the last game of the season or the play-in game. Now the rotation even gets shorter, and patience gets shorter. Even if you get an opportunity, you're off the floor quickly if you're not contributing. So like a Buddy Hield, if he's not hitting shots, off the floor. Quentin Post, if he's not hitting shots, off the floor, because he's not much of a rebounder. He's not going to defend Sengun at a high level. So that means Looney's going to be on the floor, because if I'm hitting shots, I might as well have Looney on the floor, because he's a veteran who's going to defend and rebound. And Quentin Post's resume does not suggest defender rebounder. It's stretch. You're a stretch big. So if you're not hitting shots on that end, then Looney's going to rebound and defend better than you. So he's going to be on the floor. Buddy Hield, if you're not hitting shots, there's other people that can do other things. Buddy Hield hits shots, not much more. So they're going to heat check some of those guys off the bench if they're struggling offensively. But as far as Kuminga's role is concerned, Jimmy's playing 40. Steph's playing 38. Draymond's playing 38 to 40. So those guys that you don't play with well statistically, they're going to be on the floor a lot. The one way, there's actually two ways Kuminga could get in this game, or could become a factor in the series. That's a better way. There's two ways that Kuminga could be a factor in the series. One, they're really struggling, especially offensively. And this happens all the time in the playoffs. And there's a guy that's not in the rotation. And Steve Kerr looks down his bench and sees a sad-faced Kuminga. Oh, man, I'm not playing again. And says, Kuminga, in. Let's see if we can get us a spark. Like they're getting beat, in game one because of all the emotion, all that. It's early in the third quarter, just coming off halftime. Toyota Center's going bonkers. It's 72-57, so you're not completely out of the game. You're down 15, and Kerr says, we need a spark offensively. Let's see if JK can give it to us. That's one way. And then if he does give him a spark, then Kerr comes into the postgame. He's asked a question by Tim Kawakami. How come you haven't been playing Jonathan Kuminga? Because he scored 15 tonight off the bench in 10 minutes. Are you going to give him another chance? And Steve Kerr's going to go, yeah, if he plays this way, we got to find a way. And then he gets into the series. The only other way is if there's an injury or foul trouble. And hopefully there's no injury. But let's say, Jimmy Butler gets into early foul trouble, right? 2 quick fouls on Jimmy Butler. Damn it. He's guarding Jalen Green. Green goes to the hoop on him a couple of times, 2 quick fouls early in the first quarter. Jonathan Kuminga comes in, shows that he's got something, has the proper mindset and mentality, comes in, gives him energy. Steve Kerr, same thing after the game. Hey, Jonathan Kuminga came in for Butler, scored 12 points in 12 minutes, looked really good, was driving, was focused, rebounded, played defense, because that's how he's going to stay on the floor. Those other things, everybody's excited. Oh, look at the dunk, look at the putback, look at they already know that stuff. Can he defend somebody? Can he move the ball? Can he play the right way? Can he rebound in a series with these athletes? Can he do those kind of things? And Steve Kerr after the game is going to say, the 12 points in 12 minutes was really nice, but I liked the 6 rebounds and the way he played defense. And that'll get him into the series. So that's it. If it's a standard, back and forth kind of a thing and they don't need a spark, we're getting blown out by 15. Let's see what Kuminga can do. Jimmy's in early foul trouble. Kuminga's forced into the game and then plays well. The key is, though, he can't go in there and mope and go, oh, woe's me, I'm going to get traded in the offseason. He's then got to say, okay, this is my damn final chance with the Warriors, and I'm going to show him. I'm pissed. That's what he's got to be. He's got to be, you know what? Steve Kerr says I'm not in the rotation. To hell with that guy. Watch this. And not by forcing it, because they're going to get pissed at that. But just within the flow, all of a sudden, Kuminga scores 10, 12 points, scores 7 in a row. They're back in that blowout game. Houston calls a timeout, and Kuminga was ready to play. And that's not always the case with that dude. I think he's a really good player. I like him. I think in a series like Houston, there's got to be a role for him against these other athletes. But those are the scenarios that I just laid out for you of how he's going to be in the rotation. Because right now, minutes go up for the starters, bench shrinks. And if you weren't already in the rotation, I scratch my head and think, well, then how would there be a niche for you? Unless there's an injury or you're getting blown out and they need some sort of a spark. And Steve turns to him and goes, see what you got, kid. That's the only way I see him being in this series. So there you go. Why the Dubs can and can't. That's where we are in the show. As far as KD to Houston, I don't think I have a video or anything like this on this deal. But there was speculation on this. And you know why it makes so much sense? Somebody pointed this out to me yesterday. So, Houston and Phoenix made a trade a long time ago. And Houston has a bunch of Phoenix picks in I think it's 25, 27, 29. You can't trade your first round pick every year. So it's every other year. Then those other years they do pick swaps. Well, Houston has the Suns' first round pick, I think at 25, 27, and 29. And then they have a pick swap in there on one other year. So if they traded Kevin Durant to Houston, they would just get all their picks back. And they get a player too, because you got to match salaries. So it might be like a Van Fleet or you become redundant, right, with him. I don't know if it'd be a Jalen Green. I think that'd probably be too much in Houston's eyes. But, somebody that's making money, plus those picks back to the Suns, they're all their original picks, and KD goes to Houston. Now, look, I like Kevin Durant. Like I said, he's a great player. I don't know about personally, whatever. I don't know him well enough to make a personal thing. I think he's weird. I think he spends too much time worrying about people who have egg avatars and 7 followers, and he gets all into it and he cares too much about what people think. I've said that a million times. You mature to a point in life, and it is so nice that you just don't give a shit what anybody else thinks. You just don't. You care what your family thinks. You care what your friends think. You don't want to be a complete jackass. But generally speaking, you're just like, I don't care. I'm not caught up in what people think. Sorry, doesn't affect me. And you would think by this point that Kevin Durant would have developed rhinoceros skin and just would have been like, I just don't care. I mean, I have so much money. I've had so much success. I'm going to be one of the top players of all time. Whatever people say about my game, whatever people say about, whatever. Like, I'm beyond it. But he's not. That's just his personality. He cares what people think. He is he's very aware of what people think. It's just he's got gigantic rabbit ears. I don't get it. But he is where he is in life. The thing that if I was him that I'd be really nervous about is, now this is a really nice young team. And let's say that I'm not even looking at numbers. I'm just saying, let's say that it's a Van Vliet and all those picks back. Van Vliet makes it match. And there's another player that they throw in there as well to make the players match. But Durant is there with like Jalen Green and, just the core that they've got. Sengun, Jalen Green, really nice team. But if he goes to Houston with those pieces, with those nice young pieces, and they just finish second in the West with 52 wins, and Durant can't put them over the top, and we're in this exact same position in 2 years, then it's going to have been, went to Brooklyn with a super team? No. After the Warriors. Had a super team in Oklahoma City? No. Went to the Warriors? Like I said, I don't care what anybody thinks. I'd have stayed here and won 10 rings, and I wouldn't have given a shit about what Stephen A. Smith thinks. But he's not really, he didn't do it on his own. What do I care about that? I got 10 rings, and I stick them in my ear so I can't hear what you're saying. Like, I don't care. But he's too worried about perception. So he didn't want to be on Steph's team. He wanted his own team. Well, he couldn't do it in OKC, and he couldn't do it in Brooklyn, and he couldn't do it in Phoenix. And those Brooklyn and Phoenix, by the way, ended in an absolute unmitigated dumpster fires. And now he's like, I got to get out. And now him and his advisor, Rich Kleiman, are going to meet with Phoenix and say, we don't want to be here anymore. Next. So if he then goes to Houston with a young team that basically he can call his, is it Jalen Green's team? Is it, 𝐿𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐿 Sengun's team? Is it, okay, that can be your team. You don't have a Steph Curry lingering. You don't have a Booker, which you had in Phoenix, kind of his team. People liked him. He was drafted there and all that. You don't really have that. You don't have a dominant guy. Okay, Kevin Durant, Houston Rockets are Kevin Durant's team. And if Kevin Durant gets the Rockets to the NBA Finals and they win a championship, Kevin Durant finally will have this imaginary, and it's not a Steve Young monkey. That was different. But it can be off his back. You won a championship for a Kevin Durant team. Congratulations. But if he doesn't, and again, I wouldn't care, but if he doesn't, then it's another team in 2 years from now. Durant's in that same situation. And so now it's, OKC, no, Brooklyn, no, Suns, no, Houston, no. And the perception's going to be even worse the way that he wanted it to go away, which was you needed Steph Curry. You needed somebody else. You're an amazing player, but you couldn't put your team over the top. And it's not entirely fair that you would say that about Durant, because if he had been put in the right situation, if he had been with the Warriors from day one, and he had been the Steph Curry and he got here before Curry and it was his team, quote unquote, and all that kind of stuff, Kevin Durant would never have left. Major market, all sorts of things off the floor that are intriguing to him. He's kind of a complex individual. But the only thing I would say to Kevin Durant is, bro, you better be sure this time. Because if you go to Houston and it blows up in your face, then you're going to be that mercenary who went from place to place to place to place and you could never get it done. Now, me, I wouldn't care. I'm one of the top, I don't know, when they say top 75, top 50, Kevin Durant might be a top 25 player of all time, at least on the offensive end of the floor. And the offensive end of the floor, he might be top 5 or 10. That's how good he is. But the perception is going to be, which I wouldn't care about, but he certainly does, is that you were this mercenary who went team to team to team to team to team, and you were desperate to win a title for a team headed up by Kevin Durant. You were the Batman of that team. As I've used that term all the time, and all of a sudden Jimmy Butler's using it. Like, oh, Batman and Robin. Not new. Anyway, that's the Durant story. Whether you care or not, there is a rumor he could go to Houston, which, look, he'll make them better. Just depends on what they have to give up. And it makes a lot of sense because then the Suns just get all their picks back. Klay night, this is the one that I wanted to talk about. Klay was absolutely great last night. And in the place he could exercise demons, in which he was 0 for 10 his final game as a Warrior in the play-in loss of the Kings, And then last night, there's Captain Klay, 120-106 over the Kings, and he scores 23. Here's Klay with Scott Van Pelt on ESPN after the game.
Quite the year, especially when it comes to the injury bug. And
Yeah, no doubt.
to have our team almost complete. Obviously, we miss our brother in Kyrie. I mean, we all can imagine what he would do for our team. With sky's the limit with he's in the lineup, but we're so desperate to keep the postseason alive. It's a privilege to play basketball this time of year, and I told the guys before the game, I mean, we have nothing to lose. Go out here with a free swing, play for each other, and play free-minded, because that's when we're at our best, and there's nothing like being able to compete this time of year. It's truly
awesome. I don't know what you can say about Klay. He's just such a good guy, and the Warriors made the right decision. The Mavericks have struggled. It's been a struggle for him. He scores 23. I think the world of the guy. I'm not playing topper or anything like that, but there have been through the years, and I've been here since 2010, and there were many times on both radio stations in which I did appearances and events with Klay Thompson. And as you could imagine, Klay Thompson that you saw right there, he's one of a kind. He's that way all the time. He has no other way that he is. He acts that way on the court, off the court. He's one of the most genuine people. Give his father and his family just a boatload of credit. Steph is the same way, but I probably did 4 or 5 events, Buffalo Wild Wings Super Bowl party, different appearances, different things. I saw Klay at which NFC championship? I think it was the Lions NFC championship game, was it? I think it was. And he was under the tunnel with a bunch of friends and was saying hello to him. And every single fan that came up to, he signed an autograph. He walked out on the field, high-fiving fans. He's just one of the greatest guys you could ever meet. So, to have the unfortunate things injury-wise that happened to him and then have him be able to exercise demons, in which his last game as a Warrior was in that building and he goes 0 for 10, he's got to feel great. And I feel great for him. And it's the whole reason I did not want to play the Mavericks is, Anthony Davis, there's a video after the game going, hey, beat the traffic home. And it's like, look, Dallas isn't a good team. The Kings are just in a really bad situation. They've already fired their general manager. They're going to probably go through a complete overhaul again. They trade De'Aaron Fox. I mean, the thing about them is they've just been so mismatched. Like the team that they have, Sabonis wants answers now, and he could be traded, and they're just going to have to start all over again. And it's unfortunate, but the Mavericks walk in with Anthony Davis, and he's just difficult to deal with. And Klay got it going, as you saw there in the number that ESPN put up there. He scored most of his points in the second quarter, was hitting a bunch of threes and off-balance shots and got confidence early. And it's just it's cool for Klay. I think they can beat Memphis. I think Memphis is still kind of a mess. And I don't know what Ja Morant's ankle is going to be like on Friday night, but that's whoever plays in that. It's going to be really difficult because you're going to play in that, then you have to turn around. You're playing Oklahoma City, so it's probably going to be a short stay. But I mean, if Dallas could get into the playoffs, given the Luka situation, given the Kyrie injury, and essentially you have Anthony Davis, a couple other bigs, and Klay Thompson, and that's your team, and you get yourself into the playoffs, that would be a major, major accomplishment. And I feel great for Klay about it. So that's your NBA thing. Let me get out and see what people are talking about before we hit up on some stuff when it comes to the Niners draft. We are 1 week away from the NFL draft. 1 stinking week. I love the draft. I'm not going to lie to you. I love the draft. And I've tried to not overstat you with draft stuff, but I'm telling you, next week it's going to be a different deal. You got to give me at least a week, right? I mean, I deserve that. Do I not? Jimmy made us forget Klay. I would agree 100% with that, J49. I mean, it's like he's been unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Hi, AJ. A former co-worker and her boyfriend went to a game and snuck into the back to see him. Security caught them, but Klay said they're friends and took a pic with him. Yeah, it's unbelievable. I don't know what else to say. Like I said, the season ticket holders and stuff can walk around in this area, but it's mainly a media area. And so he was kind of hiding from the crowd. He had gone out before the game and kind of done a lap on the field. And the thing about him is a lap around the field, if you're just waving, like Barry Bonds, for example, was at the same game. And nothing against Barry. It's just Barry would get mobbed. So I was walking behind Barry, and he was just waving to people and moving. And that a loop around the field is, 5 minutes, 10 minutes tops for Barry, right? He'd stop and he'd shake hands with someone, but maybe 10 minutes around the field, and Barry was off the field. Klay Thompson would probably take him a half hour just because anybody who would yell Klay at him, which was everybody, he would take selfies with, and he would, everybody wanted to talk to him. And it's nothing against Barry. It's just Barry's a little more prickly, and Klay could not be the more opposite from that. And then when I saw him underneath, like I said, only like some VIPs and luminaries and stuff were saying hi to him. So him and like 2 or 3 friends were just hanging out, and he's having a beer and just chilling. And, you just go up, hey, what's going on, man? He's just a good dude. I mean, just a good dude. You want people like that to succeed. He's just a good guy. So anyway, good dude. Exercise the demons. Let's see, what else do we got? Oh my God. Could you imagine? I don't know how they'd get him, but yeah, I'd like to have him just so you didn't have to play him anymore. My God, he just crushes him. Like I wouldn't. That's what I'm saying. I didn't want anything to do with Dallas. Like, I know that they're a mess. I get it. I know all those kind of things, but my God, man, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. He's probably going to move in the offseason. But all I'm saying about the Kings is, and all due respect to all of our Sacramento listeners, viewers, and so forth, they're just a mismatch. They just don't ever match. The way that they draft, the way that they like just everything. Like they just, the pieces have never fit for these guys. And then they grab certain guys, and it's just like the Chicago trade was ridiculous. Like, I get it, man. You want to move De'Aaron Fox. I understand that. But try to get something, nothing against Zach LaVine, but it's like he just, that was not a fit. And DeMar DeRozan is not a fit. And, those guys were on the Bulls together and they did absolutely nothing. So I don't know. They're just always trying to bring these things in. And like I said, I've said this a million times. It starts with the ownership and goes down. So Monty McNair's gone. That's fine. It's not his fault. It's ownership. We need this. We need this. It's just this hair-triggered and harebrained kind of a thing where it's like, you got to build this thing and build continuity and bring in the right pieces. And there's like Jimmy Butler. Like, if Sacramento could have gotten a Jimmy Butler, that's the kind of guy that, it's just the league shouldn't have let the Warriors get Jimmy Butler, because he's such a great culture piece when you've already got a great culture. And then the expectation level when you bring in a Jimmy Butler even goes that much more. And everybody, and he doesn't have to do it like Draymond Green does it, where he's yelling and screaming and everything else. They're just, you've heard this from the players, the young players, the veteran players. There's an expectation level, and you have to match that when you play for the Warriors now. Jimmy Butler's on the floor. Draymond's on the floor. Curry's on the floor. You get on the floor, there's a level that you have to play at, both mentally and physically. And that's why Kuminga's not on the floor, to be honest with you, not to go back to that. But there's a certain level and consistency that is expected. Professionalism is the way I should put it. And if you're not to that level, there's a problem. And the Kings never have that. I mean, that's just how it is, man. Let's see. What's up, Boom? Thanks for doing this. Morning shows in the Bay now are what I can bear listening to. I have no comment, man. I have no comment. It's radio is really hard. I mean, no, it's not. I mean, I don't mean it from that sense. It's not digging ditches. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, given the limitations, this is all I'll say. Because radio was good to me for 27 years. 27 years. It paid the bills, put my kid through college, and allowed me to have a pretty good life. And so I'm not here to disparage it. It's just sad. It's just, things evolve and things happen. And I haven't really said this on the show, but look, I didn't get let go because the ratings were bad. I got let go because of finances, and it happens all the time. And you make too much money, and then they go cheap. And so both local radio stations, unfortunately, have limitations in what their companies will pay talent. And so with that is why the Bay Area Sports Collective exists. Tom Tolbert should not be, should be on the radio, but he's not. And it's not because he didn't have success. He set the standard as far as speaking of standards. Tom set the standard, Tom and Ralph, of what sports radio is and was and should be in the Bay Area. And it no longer has that standard. And it's not because Tom isn't still talented and relevant. It's because stations wouldn't pay what Tom is worth. I mean, that's just what it is. And so we all got together and said, look, I'd rather grow something and build something than I would go back and work for a quarter of what they were, they're offering about a quarter of what they did. And I thought to myself, that's not the way to go. And Tom thought that's not the way to go. And Rod decided that's not the way to go. And Paulie said that's not the way to go. And so, look, it was unceremonious for all of us. But at the end of the day, I'm sad because I know when I got into the business what it was and the type of talent that was there and the type of things we could do. In fact, not to go on this tangent, I'm at the random point of the show, and I want to get back to the 49ers. So just give me about 60 more seconds, I promise, and we'll go back. But a guy used to program 95.7 The Game, and the guy who brought me here to the Bay Area years and years ago, his name is Jason Barrett, and you probably wouldn't know him, but he has a Barrett Media is the company, and so he's kind of an overseer of a bunch of different stuff. It's evolved into not only sports but news talk and music and all these kind of things. And so he does this, and a dude wrote a piece the other day. I don't know if you saw this, but there's a guy, he's out of Memphis, and his name's Chris Vernon, and they do his thing. He's not on the radio. I think it's called Grind City Media. And you probably saw this because it went viral, but he did a thing where he does these Masters updates, and they're like in a hip hop version, and he's got all these characters dancing around, and it's really funny and it's really good. And he does it every year. And the piece is, why isn't sports radio creative anymore? Why aren't they doing these viral pieces? Why aren't they doing things? Because it's almost like, does anyone watch? Maybe you do a little bit, but isn't the majority of your viewing Netflix and Paramount and, just whatever, Apple, I shouldn't say Paramount, Apple, it's not CBS, ABC, NBC outside of sports. Like, I watch sports on those channels, but I couldn't tell you one show. I'm being 100% honest with you. One network show that I watch on a consistent basis. Can't think of one. Growing up, that's all you did, right? What's a good, I'll put it on you. Give me a show on CBS, NBC, ABC that is not sports that you watch. I don't watch The Bachelor. My wife does. I don't watch reality TV. I never watched Big Brother. I never watched, why am I blanking on the Island show that's been on forever with Jeff Probst? Survivor. I never watched Survivor. I never watched any of those shows. So I don't even know. Is Survivor still on? I think it's been on like 50 years. It's unbelievable, or 50 episodes or whatever it is, or 50 seasons or whatever. But I don't watch anything on network, and it's not by design. I don't hate it. It's just that when you get to Netflix and you go to all these other producers of content, they can be so much more risky, and that's where all the good writers are, and the best actors will do that. And they don't need to do movies all the time. And I don't know why they do it, but they do. And so all the best stuff is on those channels. It's just all that stuff is produced, and it's made largely, I think, network TV outside of sports, news, and a lot of people like reality TV. So reality TV, news, and sports. That's what network TV is. And then as far as them trying to compete with, I don't know, comedies, dramas, all those kind of things, they can't, because there's so many more things that you can do with that medium now. And it's getting that way too, in this sense, because just being on the radio and then adding whatever that you're going to add just isn't enough. And then, like I said, because these radio companies have cut costs to such a level, and there's a reason for it, because it's advertisers. And I know many radio advertisers, and they're locked into contracts, so they wouldn't be advertising on radio anymore, because I can talk about Dr. 𝐸𝐵𝐿 a bunch of times, and Dr. 𝐸𝐵𝐿's great. I can show you things and do things that you can't do on the radio. And then after my show's over, people consume my show again and again and again and again. So it's not like when I was on the radio and I would do a live read, and that live read's gone. It's not reconsumed, because they're not going to edit it with that in it. They're just going to edit, like if they edit something on radio or on their YouTube channel, it's just that 8 minutes of like an interview or something. So you never hear that ad again. So advertisers like this. So anyway, I didn't mean to go on this long tangent just based on that. And I'm not angry with radio at all. It is what it is. It's the evolution of what is happening. But I was there for 27 years, and I enjoyed every stinking second of it and loved working who I worked with. But the thing that's great about this and the Bay Area Sports Collective, in addition to what I do individually, which is the same thing, is that, Tom Tolbert is here, and Paulie is here, and Creative Tony is here, and soon to be, I don't think I was supposed to let the cat out of the bag on somebody, so I can't say that person, but there's another person that's coming aboard, and there's more after that I'm not at liberty to say. So eventually this thing is going to be like the who's who of what, and that's just the way it goes. All right, I'm done. Yeah, only sports on network TV. Sports, news, reality TV. I think that's it, right? That's it. Sports, news, reality TV. That's all anybody watches on network. Seinfeld. But again, Seinfeld is, where's Seinfeld now? I mean, I guess you can get it on regular, but I'm saying they don't run it on like NBC in prime time, you know? Yeah, Survivor. I don't know why I couldn't remember why I couldn't remember Survivor. My brain's fried. What's wrong with me? No, I didn't watch Survivor. I might have tuned in one time just because Jeff Kent was on it, just to see. I think I probably did a couple of episodes with Jeff Kent. That's about it. That's all I did. And then other than that, I don't think I did any of it. I don't think I watched any of it. So anyway, yeah, I mean, that's probably my one regret in terms of that. People are talking about certain guys who should be starting channels. Yeah. But the problem is that you're under contract to these radio stations. Here's the problem is for a year, I'll give you some insight into this because it didn't really take off. So there's a friend of mine, David Locke. I've told you this before. And he's the play-by-play voice of the Utah Jazz. He got me into the radio business back in 1997. And at a sports radio station in Salt Lake City. And we had the rights to the Utah Jazz. And I was a writer at the time. And he goes, we don't really know what we're doing, but why don't you do a radio show? And I said, okay. And so I did. And he has since launched, this, and years later, at Locked On Podcast Network. You've probably heard of it. And he started it. And the premise was 30 minutes every day on your team. So it was specialized to everyone's team. And now he's blown this thing up through the roof. And it's relatively unknown people who do these podcasts, agree to do it. They don't make a whole lot of money at first. And then, they can make a decent amount of money at some point. You're not going to quit your job because of it, but it's a decent amount of money and it's really taken off. He sold it to a company. He's still the CEO of it. It's really taken off. So I did that. I went to them. I went to 𝐾𝐵R at the time and I said, hey, can I do this for a year? And just let me see how it goes. And they went, yeah, okay. And so that's why there's some confusion because it was called John Lund Unleashed. And so I did it for a year, started to have some success, started to understand and realize it. And then they went to me at that year and said, no more, can't do it anymore. We're starting to run into you as an advertiser against us. And we don't like that. So you can't do it. Well, then I signed a new contract in July of 2023, 4-year contract, July of 2023. Ratings were great. I get let go in November of 24. And they told me when I signed my new contract, I couldn't do a YouTube channel. So my point is that the guys who are under contract to do radio, it used to just say you can't work at another radio station. Now it says, because lawyers get involved, that you can't do anything outside of it, which is stupid, to be honest, because on 𝐾𝐵R, the demographic of the listener is older and older and older. And the demographic of a listener or a viewer on YouTube and all these other platforms is younger and younger and younger. So it used to be that the radio station would drive to other things. Now it's other things driving to the radio station and making it more popular, but radio doesn't get it. They won't let you do these things on the side, which means that there's no way to expand radio because they won't let you do anything outside of it. So the more people that leave radio, it's like, well, I don't really listen to the radio, just like I don't watch network TV. So how else can I get younger people to the radio if they won't let me do things outside of radio where younger fans are, younger listeners? I just saw OnlyFans, so I said younger fans, where younger listeners or viewers are. And that's the problem with radio, that the management at radio doesn't understand that the future is all these other platforms. Just like the future of TV, at one point, all these network executives went, damn it. And now they jumped in late to the party. NBC is Peacock and all these different, they should have done that from the beginning. Like, let's embrace this. Let's not fight it. Like if we're, NBC, CBS, ABC, and now they've all tried to do this at a later time. But at the time, if they had seen the platforms, the Netflix and everything popping up, they should have said, you know what we should do? We should embrace this and get secondary channels on these different platforms. And if they would have done that faster, they wouldn't have gotten beat. But now if you're those networks, you can't catch Netflix now. They're way too big and way too good. You're not going to catch Apple TV. You're not going to catch, they're just too good. And that's just how it is. They're too good. And so it's the same thing. Like all this talent that is on radio should have been allowed to do all these different platforms. The people who really get this, to be honest, and they have because I worked for them for years, was ESPN. ESPN started these platforms a long time ago because they started to look at this and they said, it's not going to just be TV. It's not going to just be radio. We got to get on all these other platforms quickly, as fast as we can. And they started all those things. And I'm not saying they're perfect, but they understood it early. I remember sitting in meetings years ago where ESPN said, look, TV is going to die. Cable is going to die. We've got to be on all these different platforms and all this kind of stuff. And they saw it earlier than most. So they did a really nice job. But radio in general, very slow moving. And they're like, that's competition. It's not competition. If you look at ESPN, they allow their talent to do tons of stuff. You look at a guy like Shannon Sharp, he's on all sorts of platforms. All these guys, they're on tons of different platforms. Why would you just have, your guys on one platform when there's all these different ones that you want to have them on? Now, what ESPN will do a lot of times is like screaming A. Now, again, they let them go on CNN. They let them go on Fox. They let them go on, what's the show in the morning? Whoopi Goldberg's on and all that. The View. They'll let them do all sorts of different stuff. They'll be like, yeah, go on this, go on that, go on this, go on that, because we want to expose you to all these different kind of people. And they know that your day job is ESPN. And so that'll drive people to your show and increase the numbers. If we just say you can only do First Take and keep you in this box, then nobody's going to find you that doesn't watch that show. Like, I don't watch that show. So how else are you going to find the guy? That's what I mean. Charles Barkley does more than just, TNT and Inside the NBA. They let Charles Barkley do a bunch of different stuff. They're like, yeah, go do this, go do that. But radio's like, nope, you're locked in. You can only do this. That's like, no, that's not smart. But that's what they do. And then what happens is, like I said, then we branch off and it gives us an opportunity because they don't allow these people, they locally especially, they're like, nope, you can only do this. And it's like, well, how do I expand? If I work for a medium that's going this way and there's other mediums that are going this way and getting younger, why wouldn't you allow me to be on those mediums to drive it back to what I do every single day? That's how they're going to find me, but they're not. And so what's happening is it's shrinking. Sorry, that was way too long of a tangent. All right, I'm done with that. But you can see how I go random things because all of a sudden I go on these tangents. But it's, I got to make sure. All right, a couple of things for the 49ers. Then we've got a sweet, clean, family-friendly caboose pistol for you today. Do not miss it because I got seriously, I've got like 4 or 5 different caboose pistols like lined up. Like yesterday, I don't know what happened yesterday. There was like 4 or 5 caboose pistols, just like boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to do all 5 one day. So anyway. All right. What do we got? Let me do this. I saw this yesterday. The guys at SF Data Niners, I got to get these guys on. I don't know if they can speak or if they just do stuff, stats, all that kind of stuff. But if they can speak, they find this stuff, these guys are good. All right. Now this is obvious stuff. We've seen it, but they just popped it up. This is why, the strategy of John Lynch and the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan and everything, they're putting a lot on the draft. Now, they've been very successful we don't have to go over it, Debo in the second and Fred Warner in the third and all that kind of Brock in the 7th and Greenlaw in the 5th and Kittle in the 5th. And we all know that kind of stuff. But you got to hit in the first, man. You got the 11th overall pick. You can hit in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th. You got it for one draft, put it all together. Put it all together. So this is what makes me nervous. Solomon Thomas, 3rd overall pick. Remember, they had the 2nd pick. They traded down. The Bears took Trubisky. They didn't take Patrick Mahomes. They come up into the 1st round. They take a major chance on Reuben Foster. I think they've learned their lesson. Reuben Foster was a child. He was just mentally just didn't have it. Mike McGlinchey, I guess you could call that a success, but you know what? He didn't make it to a 2nd contract, so I wouldn't. I give them credit on Nick Bosa, but let's be honest, it was the 2nd pick. People have screwed up the 2nd pick. I understand that, but the Cardinals took Kyler, and then Bosa just sitting there. Of course, you're going to take him. Kinlaw was a major, major, major reach, and before Trey Lance was the worst pick in years, and it's because they lost Buckner, and they thought we're just going to replace him with Kinlaw. So they actually had the 13th pick. They moved back. Tristan Wirfs gets picked ahead of them. They're like, they trade with Tampa, and they take Wirfs. It'd be nice to have Wirfs right now. Kinlaw, complete bust. Ayuk, they did a really nice job in moving back up into the 1st round to take Brandon Ayuk that year in 2020. So 2 first-round picks. They move up to get Ayuk. Yeah, he's a pain in the ass, but still, that was a good pick. You got to give it to him. Trey Lance, how many times we got to talk about that? I'm not doing it. 3 first-round picks. So not only, think about this, and this is not on the graphic. 2021, Trey Lance, bomb. 2022, Trey Lance, bomb. 2023, Trey Lance, bomb. Trey Lance should be on there 3 times as a first-round pick because you didn't have one in 22 and 23 because of Trey Lance. So think about it like that and how big of a bomb that is. 2021, Trey Lance, bomb. 2022, Trey Lance, bomb. 2023, Trey Lance, bomb. Like, that's like bombing 3 picks in a row in the 1st round. And Kinlaw sucked. And McGlinchey never made it to a 2nd contract. And Foster sucked. and Solomon Thomas was picked ahead of Mahomes. Like, that is terrible. Had to be amongst, like, I don't know how you would grade that in terms of, like, if you could put that into some sort of a chart and give it a number, it would be the worst in the league. So what is up there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 picks. Put Lance up there 2 more times on 22 and 23. That'd be 10 picks. So last 10 years, basically, the last 10 picks that they've had in the first round. Thomas, F. Foster, F. McGlinchey, I'll give that a C. Didn't make it to a second contract. Bosa, A. Kinlaw, F. Ayuk, B, just because he's been a pain in the ass lately. Trey Lance, 21, 22, 23, F. Pearsall, incomplete. I don't know. I can't give a grade to Pearsall. Who knows? I don't know what Pearsall is going to give him. But somebody put up video of him working out. By the way, that's one of my biggest pet peeves. People putting up videos of guys working out who are professional athletes. What do you think Ricky Pearsall is doing? Do you think he's sitting on a couch like I am eating bonbons? He is a professional athlete for a living. What is he supposed to be doing? Working out. So then there's videos of him working out. This would drive me crazy. Russell Wilson used to always post these, doing all sorts of drills and stuff like that. And it's like, dude, you're a professional athlete. You should be doing this 4 to 6 hours a day, maybe even more. Like, look at me, I'm working out. Yeah, great. That's what you're supposed to do. That's like me and somebody taking a video of me on a computer, like looking for stuff to talk about. Like, yeah, do you think I just turned this mic on and I'm this magical 1 minute before the show? What the hell am I going to talk about? No, I actually do a little bit of research and a little bit of work. That's what I do. But I don't video myself going, look at me, I'm preparing for the show. Is that impressive or what? Like, no shit, dude. That's what you're supposed to do. What are you going to do? Just pop the mic on and bullshit us? I mean, some people do that. I know that, but I like to prepare. I get this kind of nervousness feeling that I know that I'm going to go on the air at a certain time. And I'm like, I got to be prepared, right? I don't want to be ill prepared. I want to be able to talk about stuff. I want to be able to have some sort of an extra opinion and entertain, inform, make people laugh, whatever. I got to find things to talk about and have an opinion on. So I'm going to there's an iPad right here. So there's a picture of me on an iPad. There's a picture of me on a computer. There's a picture of me staring at my phone. Hey, I'm working. Like, yeah, Ricky Pearsall's working out. He should be. That's what he does. Like, people are like, he's in the lab. I always see that. He's in the lab. Well, really? What's he supposed to be doing? No kidding, he's in the lab. Like, what does a chef do? A chef cooks, cuts up stuff. Look at me, I'm preparing the dinner tonight. Right on. Isn't that what you're supposed to do? Nobody else gets credit for preparing their job except for athletes. Look at him. He's lifting weights. Cool. He's going to need that. People are like, ooh, impressive. He's working out. I don't know why that's a peeve of mine, but it is. 1 week from the draft. The only thing I wanted to mention on 1 week from the draft is I will have a mock draft out on that Wednesday. Is Krug done with mock draft? Did somebody tell me that? I'll have a mock draft out of that Wednesday, whether you like it or not. I'm still working on a piece where I want to look at the players that they've had in and just a little bit of rumor thing. So it's not going to be it's going to be not going to be a mock draft. I'll have that up tomorrow on a Friday. And then next Wednesday, I'll do the mock draft, whether you like it or not, the final of the final. So that's what's going on there. All right, let's get to the caboose pistol because, like I said, I've got a couple that we've had for. I mean, definitely will go through like early next week. Like yesterday was just like wham, wham, wham. Like I think I found like 4 caboose pistol stories yesterday, and I'm not going to blow them out all at once because there's times where it's like all of a sudden you're like. There's nothing. There's no caboose pistol stories. So I'm going to let these out slow. So let's do this. The sweet, clean, family-friendly caboose pistol. This is the way that we end all of John Lund Unleashed shows.
John Lund Unleashed presents the caboose pistol.
Wedged in the crack of her buttocks.
Somehow, someway, Lundo thinks this is the best way to leave a final impression on you for the day.
The old caboose pistol, everybody has one.
Did you say caboose pistol?
I know some women who could hide a machine gun in there.
Yeah.
Leave me out of this, you weirdo. Here's John.
This is a good one. This is a good one today. Before we do that, though, because I know you'll all run after the caboose pistol. Caboose pistol today brought to us by our good friends at 𝐟𝐸𝐵𝐿 Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center. And I talked to Dr. 𝐟𝐸𝐵𝐿 the other day. I want to show you this. 𝐟𝐸𝐵𝐿 Sports Medicine. That's really who it's brought by now. It is 𝐟𝐸𝐵𝐿 Sports Medicine. You see there right there in the pamphlet. Stem cell treatment, which is what my wife is having. 𝐟𝐸𝐵𝐿 Sports Medicine for stem cell treatment. She's got the shoulder done. Now, I know you've probably heard about the blood spinning before, and that does help. But then when they hit it with the stem cell, my wife's shoulder is awesome. In fact, I should have her come in here and talk about it right now. Elbow, I think she's 90% of the shoulder, about 70% of the elbow. And I haven't heard her complain, and she's not a complainer because she's been in pain her whole life. But her foot was giving her all sorts of trouble. And she never talks about her foot anymore. And like I said, she has been in so much pain. I should take a picture of this. So we have and you know this because I chug beers on your command. But we have like a lot of people, we have a garage fridge, and it's full of beer and everything. And then the freezer's full of a bunch of food. And then she would jam her like devices and ice packs and all that stuff in there. And finally I'm like, there's so many ice packs in here. We need to get like a mini freezer for all your ice packs. And we actually about a month ago bought a mini freezer for just ice packs and stuff like that. And she doesn't need them nearly as much because of Dr. 𝐸𝐴𝐵𝐿 and the stem cell procedures that she's having done. So 𝐸𝐴𝐵𝐿 Sports Medicine, as you can see right there, stem cell treatment. Go online, check it out at 𝐸𝐴𝐵𝐿, and Dr. 𝐸𝐴𝐵𝐿 will take care of you, and he feels absolutely great. And then, as I said, I am doing the testosterone, which I'm due probably for, but about every 3 or 4 months. And they just do a quick blood test on me, and they're like, okay, here's where your testosterone levels are. Yep, they're low. They get you to that number. You're not going to be Barry Bonds cranking it through the roof. You're just going to feel like yourself. You're going to lose weight. Your metabolism is going to be faster. You're going to have great energy. You're going to be more pleasant to be around, just like your normal self. And so that's a great way to go. So check out Stem Cell. My wife is doing that. And check out low T testosterone therapy with my good friend, Dr. Jeffrey 𝐸𝐴𝐵𝐿. If you click on that right now, you can go right to the website there and get yourself an appointment and read about all the other procedures they do. But 𝐸𝐴𝐵𝐿 right there, as you can see the stem cell there, 𝐸𝐴𝐵𝐿 Sports Medicine. So check out Dr. 𝐸𝐴𝐵𝐿. All right, let's do it. I've made you wait. Remember we were talking about, this was just moments ago, so I don't know how you can forget, but remember how we were just talking about the radio? And I've told you this story before. So I'm going to play this, and then I have a couple of stories for you from my days, because I did a wacky morning show, and we used to do crazy stuff like this all the time, and our lawyers hated me particularly so much, because I would do something like this, and then I would just ask for forgiveness rather than saying to our lawyers, hey, do you think we could do this without getting in trouble? And every time their answer was no. So we just decided, you know what, we're just going to do stuff, and then we'll just ask for forgiveness later. And that was kind of a bad way to approach it too, because lawyers don't have a sense of humor. Anyway, here's a judge show that I've never seen in my entire life. And some dude did something, and this is radio station related. So again, I can relate to this, but this is today's sweet, clean, family-friendly caboose pistol.
Listener to tattoo the letters KRUD on their forehead would win a $250,000 prize. I called the radio station, and I spoke with a gentleman who identified himself as one of Cyrus's crew.
Okay.
And he did, in fact, confirm that this offer was legit. Dashed down to the radio station. They started pointing at me and laughing at me. Who does that, Your Honor? They took out their phones and started taking pictures of me.
All right.
After I was standing there for about 10 minutes, a representative came down from the studio and explained to me that this was, quote unquote, a big misunderstanding.
There was a link on there that said official rules. See the link right there? If he would have clicked on that link, the link would have took him to the page that said April Fool.
I could have never imagined in a million years somebody would have actually tattooed our station letters to their forehead.
$250,000 is a lot of money. There are a lot of folks that would do that, right?
Seriously.
And I find against the defendants, and in your favor, I'm going to award for a total award of $510,000.
Okay, a couple of things at play here. First of all, because it gives me an avenue to tell these stories that we used to do. But I mean, it's one thing to have that tattooed on your head. First of all, the guy's a complete moron. But I mean, look at
listener to tattoo the letters KRUD.
Look at how gigantic
on their forehead.
Like, even if you did do that, and I'm still skeptical that this really happened, but like they don't have to be gigantic block letters like that on your bald forehead. Like, what if you did like little ones and just said, look, see above my eyebrow or something, I did KRU. Like, first of all, I wouldn't do that, because you know it. What you're going to do is you're going to get the $250K, and then you're going to go to a tattoo removal shop, and you're going to do that. So the big black block letters, and those don't even look real to me. So I'm not even sure this is true. but there's no way I'm doing those big black block letters like that because I'm getting it lasered off the minute I get the check for $250,000. Now he ends up getting $500,000 and good for him. There's just no way. And it's like, what could you possibly do? And this is one thing I always would tell my son because I got tattoos and I'm fine with them, even though it's been years and years. But one's GRL behind my arm, and that, by the way, was a radio stunt. And I'll tell you about it in a second. How I got one of mine, and then I got a couple on my back that if I don't have to look at them, I don't look at them. They're not like full tattoos on my back, but on your forehead and that big, like you could have just done it tiny. And like in cursive letters, so that would have been really easy to remove. Like, look, you said KRUD on your forehead. I did it. And these are, this is it. This is like, little small cursive letters, and then that's it. So the guy's a dumbass, and he shouldn't have gotten a dime. That's what I would have said if I was the judge. Like, you're a dumbass. Like, no, I don't care. I mean, the radio station's culpable to a certain point, but I'm not giving you $500,000. You're stupid. So first of all, good for him that he got the $500,000. I don't know what it's going to cost and the amount of pain, but I mean, those are, if that's true, those are gigantic black letters that are going to take like probably 10 times, and you're going to be screaming and crying, and it's not going to be worth the $500,000. So what a jackass, first of all. Two things quick, because like I said, I used to do a morning show years and years ago and in Salt Lake City, and we would just do the wildest things we possibly could. And it was a sports show, but we would do these bets all the time. And so it would be like a Friday, and we would take like 3 bets from someone, and then we would decide what bet that we liked the best that we would take against the listener. And then we would also say for that week, we'd just come up with some sort of a punishment. So for example, just what relates to this one right here is we had a guy, it was a college football game. It was USC and somebody, I can't remember who it was. But USC loses the game, and the guy agreed to getting a tattoo of whatever I can't remember who the other team was. It might have been UCLA, or probably was like UCLA or something, because it was like, you got to get a tattoo of your rival, right? Like on your butt. I think it was what it was. And so the guy said, yep, I'll do it. And he was a big USC fan. I'll do it. And there's no way UCLA is going to win. Well, UCLA wins. And so, we have the tattoo guy in there to give him the UCLA tattoo on his butt. Dude doesn't show up. And so while he's in there, I think it's on this end. So I felt bad for the guy. And so on the air, my dad's name, who's since passed, and my son's name is the same, George Richard Lund. So I got and I always wanted to do it, a GRL on the back of this arm. And it's not gigantic or anything like that. It's good. I don't regret it at all, especially since my dad has passed. So I have a GRL on there. And I got that live on the air during a radio morning show because I felt bad that the guy that was supposed to get UCLA tattooed on his butt didn't show up. Now, that was the only guy, though. This is what's crazy. He's the only guy that didn't show up. So among certain bets that we did, I've told this story before, but a guy lost a game. I think it was a Lakers game. I think it was the Jazz were playing the Lakers, and he was a big Lakers fan. The Jazz beat him in the Stockton Malone days, and I felt so bad for this guy. So what he had to do was, I had a police officer friend. So a lot of these bets were police officer related. So he had pepper spray. And the guy had to stand in there, and this is what I mean. The lawyers hated us. We wouldn't tell the lawyers. So we tied his hands behind his back so that he couldn't like itch his eyes or anything like that. And our police officer friend stood back, and we videoed all these things back in the day, and sprayed pepper spray just above his eyebrows. So hit him up, and then it dripped into his eyes, and we would say to him, okay, tell us what it's feeling like now. And he would, he started out slow. It's kind of burning. Within 30 seconds, guy's like, I'm blind. Like he's freaking out. He's losing his mind. We had to untie him. We had to get all this kind of stuff. His eyes looked like they were the reddest eyes I'd ever seen, like a cartoon. The guy was freaking out. We get eye wash in there. We get, so of course our program director, everybody in the building's freaking out. And, you got one of those first aid kits in like the kitchen or something. We're getting eye wash to the guy. We took him out to my car to put, we were pounding air conditioning into his eyes to try to dry his eyes. The guy was freaking out, and we go across the street. There was a great local burrito place. We buy him lunch. We're like, please don't sue us. Please don't sue us. And I just remember our general manager coming down, and this was one of the final things we did. And he said, if this guy sues us, which he should, you are all fired. And the guy was losing his mind. He was a big time listener to the show. So then he was like, I'm cool with it. I was just afraid or whatever like that. But we had we had situations where we shaved guys' eyebrows off, and which was the freakiest thing ever because this guy had he was like an Italian guy, and he had big bushy eyebrows and black hair, and we shaved his eyebrows off. It was one of the funniest things ever because it was just so obvious, right? With some people, it would matter. Like I don't know if you know this, Greg Papa has no eyebrows, and it's just the way he looks. I have kind of caterpillar eyebrows. I can have some big ones. I got to keep them trimmed up. But this dude was like big Italian guy, black, thick hair. And then you shave his eyebrows off. Unbelievable. So we did that. I lost a bet one time, and I've told this story, where I had to run like a 100-yard dash in a banana hammock type of thing, like a lime banana hammock. And I had to run it, and people had paintball guns on either side of me. We hired a company that, they would have like company outings with paintball guns or whatever. So there was probably like 10 paintball guns on either side of me. So like 20 paintballs, and they're like, okay. And I had a pair of goggles on, and that's all I had on. And they were like, okay, 3, 2, 1. And I would run, and they would shoot these paintballs at me. I'm telling you, I barely made the 100 yards. I was getting hit in the ass a lot. They couldn't shoot me in the head or the face. That was the only thing. But I'm getting hit in the back of the neck. I'm getting hit in the back. I'm getting in the ass. It was like, like it's like, I run like a spaz anyway. And so, I'm getting hit left and right with these things. Not fun in the slightest. So yeah. So, if I lost something, I've told you this before with my, my police friend, I got tasered one time. And so we had a cement floor in the radio station, and my police officer friend said, look, man, you got to put something on. So we had like a sports radio station to have. We had like batting helmets and everything. So I put on a big like football helmet, and he's like, you're going to get hit with this thing, and then you're going to fall to the ground. I'm like, whatever, I'm not. And so sure enough, I put the football helmet on, and he shoots me with the laser, hits me right in the chest with it. And I'm telling you, like a ton of bricks, just I hit the ground. It was a cement floor. I hit that sucker hard, and I had like shorts on. It was the summer, or it was warm out or whatever. And I hit the floor hard, and thank God I had that helmet on, because I went wham and hit because you can't control yourself. Your brain. The thing about being tasered, and hopefully you've never been tasered and never will be, is that your body is completely frozen, but your brain is still working. So your body is so confused, because it's going, I can't move, but I'm thinking I'm moving. And you're literally like on the ground going, and so you lose all, function. And so right when he hit me, within a second or two, I just boom, right on the floor, whacked my head, had the helmet on and everything. And that wasn't pleasant. So I got an MMA fighter. This is a good one too. So a female MMA fighter put me in a headlock and did some kind of a move on me, and I passed out. So I lost a bet, and she could do it was like a rear naked choke or something like that. And clearly I wasn't naked, because I wouldn't be naked. You would not want to see that. But she got behind me. I was sitting in a chair, or else I would have again passed out. But I did this. So she did it. And then I went like you could hear it too, because they got the mics down there. And they went 3, 2, 1, and she does it. And then my head hits off of the desk that I was doing the show from. But they had the mics kind of pointed down, because they knew that was going to happen. And there's this big thud. So yeah, I probably went 60-40 on the wins. 60-40. It was a lot more fun when the listeners had to go through stuff and I didn't. But my point is that, okay, so if you just joined us,
head would win a $250,000 prize. I called the radio station.
He still got the crud on his forehead. Yeah, our lawyers at one point, I think it was the like I said, I think it was the pepper spray one. And the general manager came down, and there was lawyers in our building, and like 3 of them walked in, and we had just finished the show. And they walk in, and they go, look, man, funny bit, gets good ratings. People like it. No more. Like, that's it. Like, you just can't do it anymore, because that kid could have sued us like crazy. He was a fan of the show. Seriously, we're like, what can we get you? What can we get you? He's freaking out. He's like, well, whatever the burrito place was called. I can't remember, best burrito. You get me best burrito. And I was like, done. I get him like a monster best burrito with like, the red sauce, enchilada style, all sorts of stuff. And these like chips, guacamole. I'm like, look at this feast you have. Of course, and he didn't sue us, but that was it. They came in and they're like, no more. I said, because if they're like, if this guy sues us, you guys are done. It's like, okay. I'm not going to do that. What else? I think that's it. Man, a lot of tangents today. I apologize, man. Absolutely. We got loose on Fridays, 420. We got very loose on Friday. You can't do those things nowadays. Seriously, you can't do those things nowadays. There's just no way. Like, you would do this within 30 seconds. They'd be like, you're not, like, hey, we've got a police officer in here and he's going to shoot this guy with pepper spray. They'd be like, no, you're not. Okay, we're gonna hit this guy with paintballs. No, you're not. We're gonna shave this guy's eyebrows off. No, you're not. Like, there's no way. You can't do any of that stuff anymore. No chance. No chance. Let's see. Oh yeah, that was a good one. Ogden's right on it. Yeah, Mark Willard and Krug and the thong bet. That was amazing. That was an amazing one. Hi, EB. It's good to see you. Anthony, good to see you. Joseph, Joe Schmo. Great turnout today. Very nice. All right, that will do it. We've gone long. We've gone way overboard today, but I went on a couple of major tangents. I think I showed you everything today. Episode 118. Go back if you want to at the beginning. The way you can do it is on YouTube, John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. Please make sure you subscribe before you leave. Please, please, please. I implore you to hit the like button so that we have a thumbs up, which helps the algorithm and say, okay, this is decent stuff. Make sure you subscribe on John Lund Unleashed. Please subscribe also on Bay Area Sports Collective. That would be nice. Thank you today for watching on Instagram. Thank you for watching on X at John Lund Radio. By the way, if you're watching on different types of, and I'm just checking out everything on the other platforms, but if you're watching on any of those other platforms, we do a lot of shows that are YouTube only, which forces you to come over and hang out with us in the chat room. But we do a lot of YouTube-only shows. So the post-game show for the Warriors on Sunday, for example, is YouTube only. So remember, come over to John Lund Unleashed. We'll do a post-game show for the Warriors on Sunday. I think I'm going to maybe put the Saturday show on YouTube only to force people to come over and hang out with us in the chat room to our Thai Pork Chop. So make sure that you are subscribed to John Lund Unleashed on YouTube, because we do a lot of exclusive shows on here and don't put them on all the platforms. You'll be like, where's Lund? Oh, yeah, YouTube. So make sure that you subscribe. Make sure you have those alerts on. We always put out a couple of shorts plus a major topic of the day. Probably, can the Giants keep it up? We'll probably do that because we spent a lot of time doing that today. So we'll probably put that up a little bit later on. Make sure you have those alerts. And not only join me here on John Lund Unleashed, but please on Bay Area Sports Collective. The Tom Tolbert Show is on Bay Area Sports Collective. Polymax Particles with Creative Tony. That's on exclusively on Bay Area Sports Collective. So make sure not only do you subscribe here, John Lund Unleashed on YouTube, but Bay Area Sports Collective as well. I make sure I hit up all the stuff today. Thank you, Todd. By the way, I still owe you, Todd. I owe you. My wife was going to yell fresh pot, and she didn't do it. And thanks to Johnny. I haven't seen Johnny a ton, but it's great to see Johnny. I agree with you. I'm not a Huff fan behind the plate. I'm not an Aubrey Huff fan either, but I'm Sam Huff right now. While not as bad of a Huff, he's starting to piss me off. So there's that. All right, great stuff today. Make sure you hit up Bay Area Sports Collective. 11 a.m. Dom is telling me that Polly and Creative Tony are going to be on board. So make sure you hit us up for that at Bay Area Sports Collective. Tell all your friends, tell all your enemies. Great time had by all today. Appreciate it. We will see you tomorrow for the Friday edition of the show. Have a great Thursday.
Thanks for hanging out with John Lund Unleashed. We'll try to be better next time, though I wouldn't hold my breath. Please like and subscribe on the John Lund Unleashed Pod YouTube channel. Watch live shows weekdays at 8 a.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. And make sure to have your alerts on for shows throughout the day or night. All things Lund can be found at johnlundunleashed.com. johnlundunleashed.com.
Goodbye!